Hey, boozers and shakers, we are coming at you live. We're so excited for a fall tour. It'll be the final installment of our current Here for the Booze tour.
The final, I think, 10 shows, something like that. But it's the final countdown. And we're very excited. But if you want a chance at ever seeing Here for the Booze one last time, this is it, folks, before we do our next big tour. So hopefully you can make it to the next few cities. If you want to, you can check out our tickets at andthat'swhywedrink.com/live.
We can't wait to see you there. Some shows are already sold out, so get on it quick. Bye.
Here we are, folks. I never know how to start this.
I always start, and then you're like, "Oh wow, Christine started." So this time I thought I'd let you start.
Really? I thought it was the inverse, where I wouldn't shut up for a while. So now I'm trying to let you go.
I always yell hello when we start. Welcome to the show. I'm like the MC.
Oh, okay.
Well, MC.
Whoa.
Wouldn't that be a fun podcast?
Whoa. It is this. It's this podcast.
Can I tell you something?
What?
I took half an edible, and so I
think this is going to be a great episode. Okay. First of all, are you okay? Like, did you need to take it for a reason? Were you having anxiety?
I mean, I'm always having anxiety. Thank you for asking. But I was just very on edge, and I was like, oh, I've been trying to do really small micro doses of THC because I don't really know. I'm never one to smoke. I was never one to do any sort of recreational anything. I'm just kind of tried and true drink boxed wine, is usually the go-to. But so I've been trying with like medical marijuana just to like try it every now and then. And I'm liking it so far because the only edible experiences I had in the past were very bad, and so I was very cautious. I was very cautious. So anyway, today I was like, oh, why not? We had an important phone call earlier, and I was like, I'll just try. Anyway, so when I started going on about MC, I was like, this might be very telling. I'm not sure.
This might be a symptom of my behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad it's not for anything. As we say, it's not threat level midnight. So I guess that means
not. No,
that means I can make fun of you for being a little stoned. And
I
won't
absolutely.
Feel bad about it, so.
I feel like I'm just kind of I'm learning about the different strains. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Are you not feeling wine anymore? Are you like trying to make a shift?
Listen, I love a wine. I just I've always wanted to try it, and I heard about microdosing with THC where you just try really small amounts so you're not like overwhelmed. And I was like, I'll give that a try. This was a couple of weeks ago, and I'm finally like learning more,
Cool, man. Well,
yeah, pretty good stuff,
You feeling vibey? You feeling good?
I'm feeling vibey, and I'm learning that sativa is the one that helps you be creative and awake. Because every time I've tried...
You don't need any more creativity, my friend. You are already at an all-time high naturally.
Thank you so much. But the one thing that I didn't want was a repeat of... I wish I knew the exact date and year, but when I fell asleep while you were telling your story, and I was like, I'm learning that's indica because you remember it by saying "in the couch" is what indica, and so I'm not doing that right now, or mostly ever, because I don't want to fall asleep during the day.
Very telling of my parents, but this is the talk they gave me in high school about.
I wish someone gave me this talk in high school.
I've known about in the couch for quite a while.
Oh, I thought you were going to be more impressed, so no wonder you already knew all about it.
I would be. I was impressed the first time I heard it too, so you would have blown
7?
my mind. 9, okay. I've just never had trouble getting into couch, so that's like I've never had to worry about it.
It's like I'm a natural high, you're like a natural low. It's like just
yeah.
in the
Together
couch.
we're perfect. We're yin and yang, I suppose.
We're MC,
Yeah, that's it. Well, is there a reason? I guess it's not why you drink; it's why you take an edible.
You partake. I'm very excited because I brought for our after chat today on Patreon. I've spent like an hour creating like some fun little questions and games and little things. So,
oh my gosh, wow! Is that because you're on sativa?
No, but I should have waited until after because it probably would have been way more fun. But this was before. And so I don't know. We'll have like a list of just like who's most likely to, or would you rather. There's like a whole little, I have a sheet of little fun questions and games. So for our after chat patrons, look out for that.
I'm very excited. I did not know you put that much effort into just talking to me. That's so nice.
You know what? I miss you. And I was like, I haven't seen you in so long. I
I miss you too.
Get to know you. How are you?
I'm not as into couch as you are. I know you're not, but like I feel like I don't know. I've been having a lot of brain fog and it's making me really mad. So
okay, Eve and I had about an hour discussion about this and how we're realizing other people have been saying the same thing. Because I thought maybe it's because I became a mom, but so many people I talk to are like, the brain fog is getting so bad.
Well, I also I know that it's supposed to be like one of the leading signs of long COVID at this point or something, or it's like a lot of people with COVID, it's like now one of the top permanent side effects. So
oh my God.
I don't know if it's been since then. I've always felt really forgetful, so I really can't tell the difference between now and then.
That's the same with me. I'm like, I'm not like, I haven't fallen from some huge height of like organization or anything, but it just feels worse than usual.
Yeah, I just feel like I feel like I've always been like kind of a little airheaded when it comes to remembering things, and
same.
But now it feels like I feel like the level I was at, I felt like I could control, and now it feels like I'm just always 5 steps behind everyone, and I just feel really stupid all the time.
No, I know what you mean. It's like this element. Yeah, I've had that too, where it's like I used to be able. It was like functional.
Yeah, and now I'm just like,
and now it's like, oh fuck, I just totally blanked on something that I would never have blanked on before.
Well, I hope it's just mom brain for you. I hope it's not a sign of anything
I never
medical,
had COVID as far as I know. I mean, maybe it's one of those. I mean, I've knock on wood, but like maybe I just had it without symptoms. I don't know.
I started thinking about it because after all my heart stuff, I was like, it's so. I talked to my cardiologist and was like, it's just so weird that like so many episodes started happening this summer, and like because I've had this since I was 12, but it's happened like maybe once a year, and it was able to like correct itself, so it never felt like I was in danger. Like I've been living with this forever and I never had fear about it, but only this summer it just got so bad, and like what the hell's going on? And I actually found out that that's also maybe a sign of permanent COVID damage.
How had we never connected that? I mean,
I know. Apparently,
I knew that heart issues could get worse with COVID. It didn't even occur to me.
Didn't even occur to me that it's like I had heard it from a million people that like COVID finds the things that are already pre-existing in you and just kicks its ass and like it brings it to life. And I guess that might be what happened with me, because I got COVID in May right after our Toronto show, and then this whole summer has been a nightmare. So.
Yeah, it all began and ended in Canada.
I remember having more anxiety when we were on tour starting in February, but like the heart thing was really over the summer. So I think maybe that, and maybe that's why I'm now justifying some of my forgetfulness with brain fog. So, or maybe I'm just fucking forgetful. I don't know. But
I mean, I'm sure like psychologically COVID hasn't helped any of us with our like prioritization and like focus on anything.
Oh, but anyway, as for good things, because I feel like every time we ask why I drink at this point, it's just always a bummer and it's always medical. But a good thing. I have a Starbucks with me today.
Oh, I thought it was that you had a dog in your apartment.
I'm dog sitting for RJ, which is very weird. I'm sitting in RJ's old bedroom and I'm watching RJ's dog, and RJ is not in the equation.
Wow, this is like one of those thriller series where you take over the identity of RJ.
I know. Well, she's very lovely. This little dog. Her name's Susie. They named her. So RJ and his fiance are obsessed with K-dramas, and I guess there's like this very famous K-drama actress, and her name's Susie. So they named.
Oh, that's cute. Well, she's also a golden doodle, not the actress, the dog.
Yes, the dog is not Korean, I don't think.
Maybe. We don't know.
We don't know.
Have you asked?
I haven't. I don't know if she'd say... If she said yes, I'd be like, whoa.
There's bigger issues than the fact that you're Korean, because now you can talk. Yeah.
No, but she's a very lovely dog. I didn't mean to insult Gio earlier, but I did tell Christine this is probably the most well-behaved dog I've ever met.
Zero insult, only truth being spoken.
It's very odd. She, like, RJ, I think... or at least his fiance, who's actually a peach. The more I get to know her, the more I really like her.
I like how surprised you are. She's actually lovely.
Well, I say that because so Susie has her own Instagram, and I was creeping on it last night, and I know RJ's fiance is the one that handles it, and so I was reading through the captions, and I was like, damn, this girl's funny. I didn't know that about her.
Is it just puns?
It's just like she's a 10, but she's teething. Like it's like,
oh, that's cute. That's better than the normal puns I used to write.
Yeah, I just thought it was so funny. So
creative.
As of today, I have like a newfound appreciation for her in that category.
How
where I'm
cute
like,
is that?
oh, I didn't know she was so funny.
Aww.
But so yeah, Susie's very lovely. She knows all of her manners, all of her special words. I can't say this without her probably hearing me and freaking out. FLOOFY.
Wait, what does that do?
It means like go into your crate. Like apparently she calls it her floofy.
Are you kidding me?
And so if you just start screaming floofy, floofy, she like she's obsessed with her crate. So she's like, oh, I can't wait to go to bed.
I think about 2% of our audience just discovered they have like an intense ASMR fixation after you just did that multiple times into the microphone.
I have no way to shout it right now, or else I would hear her. I'd hear like the crate like fall over. She's so excited to get in.
The whispering's doing something for someone, I think. Yeah.
Maybe a dog who also likes that word.
Maybe the dog, but someone.
But anyway, so I've got a very sweet dog here who's so far has shown no problems, except I've got this, if you've seen it on my Instagram, or I know you've seen it in real life, behind or in front of this couch, there's a footstool and it looks like a buffalo. Mm-hmm. Susie thinks it's like her worst enemy.
I think
like
it's a yak because it has a long hair.
Aha, yes. Well, I'm trying to think yak and attack. How do I make that seamless? But she really hates this thing and keeps going for it. So we've had to cover the yak with a blanket because it really freaks her out.
That's kind of hilarious. She's like, there's a scary monster under that blanket.
Yeah, she keeps trying to like bite it, and then there's like tufts of this fake yak fur in her mouth, and it's very gross. So anyway, I've got a dog. I've got my Starbucks, which actually is a big thing for me medically because I'm bringing caffeine back into my world. And
Ooh.
We're testing the waters. I'm just sipping on it to see if I react at all.
Testing the tea.
Anyway, I've got some tea. I've got a dog. I'm good. Are you good?
Good. Yeah, I wish I had some tea, but I do have a dog, so I'll take it.
Okay. Well, we I guess should get into some spookiness.
I guess that's what happens next. Yeah.
I think that's what happens next. Oh, by the way, I just want to tease you and just ruin your day.
Oh, the end.
The end. No, I wanted to say I found something online. I was doing a little, not to panic anyone, but we are like 100 days away from Christmas. So
Jesus Christ, you did ruin my day. Thanks a lot.
So I'm doing a thing where every month I'm doing a chunk of the people that I have to get presents for because I'm from a massive blended family and everyone gets multiple gifts and it's like a big pain in the ass on my wallet. And so just to do it in smaller chunks and feel less miserable by the end of it all, I'm doing some people now, some people in October, and so on. I'm currently handling.
I get an early shopping.
Early access.
Wow.
Actually, I didn't mean to go shopping for you, but every site I went on, I was like, "Oh, Christine would love that." So you kind of fell
under
into
your
it.
brain, under your fold of your brain.
So I just want to let you know I found something that kind of makes no sense, but I don't care, and I
can't wait.
I'm very excited for you to get it. That's
from the bringer of the coffin candle and the skull purse and the dino purse.
Could they introduce me on stage like that from now on?
I am right now. I think they're going to use this audio.
Okay, good. Okay, so anyway, just know that your Christmas gifts are going to be handled this year.
I'm so very excited. And then it'll be exciting for you because it'll be a few months later and you'll be like, oh, yeah. I forgot.
I'll be like, wow, I really helped myself out here by having this handled already.
Past me.
I even have a basket in the closet that literally just says gifts for Christine and Eva.
I know when we filmed our gift video for Patreon, or the birthday gift video in your troll hole, that's all sounding very weird. You were like, yeah, I just went through the basket. It's like the basket.
Yeah, I've because I just find so many things I know both of you will like. So I just gave myself a designated space to buy whatever I see that you'll like.
I love it.
Because otherwise I screenshot it and then it's lost in my phone forever.
Exactly.
So I just, if
It's
I
an
ever see
honor.
something, I buy it right away, put it in a basket, and then when it comes to like the next holiday,
And then
I've
when
got
I get when I get 5
bunch of
gold
stuff.
stars, I get to pick something out of the basket.
It's not a dentist office treasure chest, but
I wish it would be though, because that would be a really fun way to relive my past.
Well, don't give me ideas because I have enough time to build you a treasure chest, and I just like don't.
Watch it
I
just
have
be
to
full
do
of
other
toothbrushes because you couldn't think past the dentist part. You're like, it's just full of floss.
It'll be like a really shitty top or something, like a spinning top in a yo-yo.
And I'll be so fucking excited.
On to the ghosts. And I say ghosts because for a while I was going through a
We're back in Ghostland.
We're back in Ghostland.
I've missed it, I'll be honest.
I've missed it too, but I couldn't pull myself away from the cryptids. So
we had a lot of fun with it, don't get me wrong, but I just sometimes I like the bread and butter.
I just like variety because I'm always worried that other people like come here for the ghosts. Some people come here for aliens. Some people come here for cryptids. Some people just don't fucking listen to me and probably listen to you only.
Some people don't come here at all because they're like, I'd rather not stop at this exit, you know.
And that person is everyone in my family.
Yeah, same, ditto. Why do they get presents? Scratch them off the list.
Actually, excellent point.
Thank you so much.
They don't get to pick from the treasure chest. Okay, so because I did so many lore, I was starting to get nervous for the people who are hoping for ghost stories. So here is kind of an amalgamation, an accumulation, a situation.
What are you in Hamilton or something? What's going on?
Okay, I wanted to do it's a lot of ghosts. Instead of just one place, I kind of handled the ghosts of a city.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like people are owed multiple ghosts, and I was like, well, let's just find a spooky town.
Let's do it.
So this is the ghosts of Port Townsend.
Oh,
I hope I'm saying that right. Port
sounds
Townsend.
right to me.
So it's in Washington, which I usually consider the East Coast, like the Massachusetts area, like Virginia. I always consider that the
spookiest,
most haunted section. Yeah. But I gotta say, Washington always seems to deliver with the spooky stuff. So
there's stuff in both Washington and Oregon where I'm always kind of taken aback, like the Shanghai tunnels, all that. Very spooky.
Also, wait, how do you say that state? The O one.
Oregon?
Okay.
That's how you say it.
I know. I've been saying it wrong. I say it like a heart or a lung.
You say Oregon?
No, I say no. I say organ.
Oh.
Instead of Oregon. I've been saying like organ, like
I
an
didn't
organ
even know
in
there
your
was
body.
a third way to say it. I thought you were talking about Oregon.
No, but I did watch Law and Order recently, and someone said, I'm from Oregon. And I went, I know in real life you aren't.
I have a hunch.
I was like, and also no one had the audacity to correct you, which was so silly.
Honestly, that is kind of, I guess they're all LAers. Maybe they just don't know, but
maybe. Anyway, I feel like I just said Oregon to someone, and I was like, oh, they're from Oregon. And everyone's like,
I don't think I ever picked up on that. I've heard you say that, but it sounds like you're just saying Oregon really fast. Oregon.
Sure, let's go with that. Okay.
Okay.
Well, this is in Washington, not that place.
Yeah, why are we talking about it?
Okay, this is in Washington. The population is just under 1,000 people. And in case anyone needs to hear this fun fact, it is 2 hours away from Forks of Twilight fame.
My brother and Dee just went there like a couple weeks ago.
For Twilight or for lighthouses or for something else?
Just kind of for fun, I think. They were like in the area and they were, they were like, well, that place Forks from Twilight is here. So then they went there.
I would like to go as somebody who's obsessed with like sets. And
yeah.
I gotta be honest, I'm gonna I don't know if I'd blow anyone's mind. I think it's kind of a mind-blowing fact, but somehow I have evaded ever seeing the Twilight movies.
Oh.
So I wouldn't
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I wouldn't go to Forks because I'm a Twilight fan, but I would go to Forks because I'm excited about it for Twilight fans.
Yeah, I get that. But stupid question. Have you read the books?
So when I was 14, I remember the day Twilight came into my world because
I do too, weirdly.
At 14, I feel like we were the generation where like Twilight was the fucking game changer.
Peak.
I remember, so I've told this before, but there was I went to a very small school. There were 30 people in my entire graduating class. There was 15 boys, 15 girls.
Or so they thought.
And one of the girls there, her name was Lucy. And I remember the school, it must have been in the school library, or one person had a copy of Twilight. And it just like, it was very cute, and I feel like very like small town in some way, but none of us thought like, oh, let's go tell our moms to go get us Twilight. But all 15 of us at one point or another like just kept giving each other Twilight to read.
Aww.
And I remember sitting in my geometry class, and I remember Lucy talking about this book in front of me, and I was like, what are you talking about? And she handed me Twilight, and she was like, dude, she was like, you are going to lose your mind to this book. You are going to freak out. And I went, okay. So for someone who doesn't read, I actually did read it based on her.
So shocking. You're like, oh, this will shock you. I've never seen the movie. But more shocking is you haven't seen the movie, but you read the book.
At 14, I think because I was in high school and already forced to read for school, I was already more open to reading. I don't know. But anyway, she gave me the book, and I did freak out, and I tried to give it back to her, and she went, no, pass it on to someone else. And so that's
Sisterhood of the Traveling Susan Myers, or whatever her name is.
Stephanie Myers.
But
so I remember reading that. It really did like rock my world as a 14-year-old. I was like, they get me. And then I read
Ditto.
And I read like the second half, or not the second half. I read the first half of the next book, and then I lost interest. So anyway, I would love to go to Forks because I care about a set. I love like a good Warner Brothers tour, all that good stuff. So apparently in Forks, because my cousins are obsessed with Twilight, they actually have signs everywhere of like they've really allowed it to become a bit of a tourist attraction.
They did.
They owned it. So I would love to go to Forks. And this is 2 hours away from there, Port Townsend. Okay. It has water on 3 sides. So I think a lot of people have to use a ferry to get there, which love a good water town. The land
you're going to say water taxi. I was like, me too.
I do love a water taxi.
A water taxi.
Fun fact, I don't know. I just like to throw it in there that the land was once Skalallam territory. I hope I'm saying that right. Skalallam territory. Before 1855, and then the USA had to do their thing and just be fucking horrible. And then after that, it became a major shipping hub.
Okay.
So there's an article that was describing the town and said that it was the domain of all things working class that include mercantiles and brothels and saloons and just all sorts of general tomfoolery. Just to give you an idea of the town, the rich people lived uptown and things were relatively quiet and safe. And then the working class lived downtown and it was very unsanitary. It was more dangerous. I feel like that actually was when I used to be a tour guide in Yorktown. That seems to be pretty popular for old water towns where all of the rich people lived away from the water. All the working class.
That's a great point.
All the working class lived by the water. And during my tours, I hope this is good information. Otherwise, I lied to hundreds of families. But
unknowingly, to be fair.
Unknowingly. But one of the facts that I had regurgitated from the guy who trained me was that in water towns, the rich would live uptown away from the water. The working class would live by the water because it was just the conditions were always worse. And so it was just cheaper to live there.
And they probably worked there.
They worked there. But so lobster and crab used to be like food considered for the poor because they would just pull food straight from the water and rich people wouldn't eat it.
No, yeah, they fed lobster in prisons often, and lobster meat, they were considered the rats, I think.
Yes.
The rats or the spiders? The rats.
I think it was the rats.
The ocean.
I think it was the rats. And then eventually when property became... like when views became something that people wanted and rich people started moving down to the water, that was when lobster and crab became fancy people food.
It's just like the asparagus vase all over again. It's just
celery.
I mean, brain fog. It's real. Am I right? asparagus face.
But yeah. So fun fact: if
I would be
people
that
didn't already know
fucking
it.
person in the Victorian era who just put the wrong vegetable in her display case.
It's very Amelia Bedelia of you.
I know. I love. That's why
like,
I relate to her so much.
Why don't you like the carrots in this vase?
I'm sorry. I thought orange and green was a better contrast. Oh boy.
So anyway, the rich people lived up there, and then the working class lived down by the water. But the people who worked down by the water also had to fear for not just like the regular sketchy people kind of coming into the town and hanging out by the water. They also had to worry about things like being shanghaied, which is basically these people would get drugged and or dragged on board to join a ship's crew against their will.
It's like human trafficking.
Trafficking, fully.
Yeah.
And then this also happened with women where they would get drugged and then brought on board. Or they would get, truly brought into sex trafficking.
Else. Yeah.
By the way, I cover being shanghaied or the phrase shanghaied in episode 111.
Was it a live show?
I don't think it was live. No.
Okay.
I don't think it was.
I think you covered it in Oregon too, right? Or in Portland?
I think I did.
Maybe you just did the notes like for a regular show.
ATWWD, listen. Sorry, I'm checking my own to make sure it wasn't a live episode. I don't think it was though. Oh, it was. Wow, you're very good at this. Yes.
Thanks.
Let's talk about brain fog. You were like, oh, episode 111 was a live show episode.
No, it's because I know you did the Shanghai tunnels at the Portland live show, so I figured we must have recorded it and released it as a regular episode. But I covered D.B. Cooper, I think, in that one. So if that's a big episode.
You don't get to talk about brain fog anymore. Shut the fuck up. That was
surprise.
So anyway, if you'd like to go listen to that, I talk more about the gross system of being shanghaied in episode 111. So Uptown was one of Port Townsend's most haunted locations, and one of the main locations there is Manresa Castle. So Manresa Castle, I'm so angry at myself because I know I've said it at least 3 or 4 times in other episodes that I feel like I've covered it and I never have, and one day I will. So instead of giving you all the hot goss today, this is me finally announcing that next episode I will cover Manresa Castle because I can't do it anymore.
Oh my God, wait, sorry.
What?
When you mentioned the Forks thing and stuff, I was like, oh, I'll ask Zandy because they just went to Washington. I said, you didn't go to Port Townsend in Washington, did you? And he said, I did, yeah. And then sent a photo of him at the lighthouse there. So
I love how
I'll show you.
It's so sweet. Look at him.
I know. So
he looks so happy.
I guess we have a weird little connection there because they went like 2 weeks ago.
I was making a joke that, was he there for lighthouses? And apparently he fucking
was. I was like, no, but I guess so.
Well, I guess the second there's a water town involved, I can't be surprised.
It's true.
But anyway, so I'm going to do Manresa Castle next week. I'll do a little.
So exciting.
I'll cover a little bit here just to give everyone a taste. But I will say, I think it's also the story I cover in A Haunted Road Atlas.
Let me clearly I didn't read it because clearly neither of us read our own book.
I really, since we edited it, which what a joke because there's 3 typos. We're aware before anyone DMs us again about that.
I actually found them while doing the audiobook and then they were like, sorry, it's already in print. And I was like, shit.
Yeah, as we were doing the audiobook, I was really reading my book into a microphone and I just went, oh, well, I guess since the book's in my hand, there's no way we're going back.
That's exactly what I thought, yes.
Okay, so 263. I want to make sure that I am telling everyone the truth. Portland, Oregon. Oh, no, I did the Shanghai tunnels. Fuck!
I thought so. See?
Why do I think I covered the Manresa Castle?
I don't know, but maybe
something's
it's in
happening.
Places to check out. In there?
That must be it. I'm not opening my book again. But I'm
not opening another book for another calendar year. Thank you very much.
I don't know what my deal is, but 254. Okay.
No, but I've seen that word. You must have used that word somewhere.
I did it. It's for because I'm so stupid.
At Portland.
Thank you. It's because Port Townsend in my head was Portland.
Okay.
It's because it's in Washington. I was like, maybe I did the wrong city. It's the Seattle one, Manresa Castle.
Okay, so
I knew I researched this.
Still stands that I did not read the book, at least all of it. I only read my part out loud.
I'm not offended. It's okay. Well, I'm about to tell you all about it next week. So
right. See, I just didn't want any spoilers. That's all.
But if you would like to give yourself the spoilers and you happen to own our book, A Haunted Road Atlas, now in stores everywhere, you can flip to page 255 and get a little sampling of what we're going to talk about next week. Quite frankly,
it's not in stores everywhere because every time I go into a bookstore, I look for it. And a lot of them don't have it. And I think it's because the first print sold out. I don't know. But
let's say that so it doesn't hurt my feelings.
That's what I say in my own brain to make myself feel better.
Also, I thought it was going to be sold in Target, and apparently it's only sold online at Target.
Yeah, it was not sold in at Target. I checked.
So mad.
I checked.
But anyway, yes, it even says Port Townsend, Washington. So maybe next week I'll actually do my first reading. Maybe I'll do like a little excerpt of our book, maybe.
Audible's going to sue you.
How does that work?
Our book.
How does that work legally? Okay. Wow, people who wanted to hear about this story are so fucking pissed.
Tangent.
Sorry. Okay. Anyway, we will discuss Manresa Castle in detail next week.
Okay.
So, but just to give you a taste of it, in 1892, the main character, his name is Charles Eisenbeis, and he built this home, and 5 years later, his son ended up shooting himself in a nearby building.
Oh, God.
It was called the Baker Building. And in the Baker Building, Charles Eisenbeis Jr. I think he died in the boiler room there, and he now haunts it. And he's known to spin people around and push them into walls in the boiler room.
Whoa, that's very specific.
So specific. And I guess their descendant who has heard this story has said, oh, he's just playing around. But if I got spun around and pushed into a wall, I would be pissed.
Boys will be boys, you know?
And so apparently in the building, the descendant also did renovations on the building and said that she could feel her family with her the entire time. Oh. And she says she felt like they at least were very pleased with the changes, which I guess is good. I assume that's off of feeling and not being spun around and pushed into a wall.
I was going to say, she didn't get pushed in a wall, so she must assume they're happy.
Right, yeah. So that's where they haunt the Baker Building next door, but in the actual castle, there's two main legends away from the Eisenbeis family. One of them, I'm just going to give you a taste. I'm gonna start the sentence, and I want you to finish the sentence because I'm so sick of this exact ghost story happening in every building.
It's a trope.
It's a trope at this point, so tell me if you can guess how it ends.
Okay.
In 1921, there was a woman named Kate, and she was staying in the castle, and she was waiting for her husband to return from sea. But then something happened.
I'm honestly glad this is a trope because it's such a sad story that every time I hear it, I'm like, God, I hope that's not true.
It's less believable considering this happened to so many people.
Even were you on that one tour, that ghost tour? Maybe it was just me and Blaze. We did a ghost tour here, and it was that same freaking story. I was like, let me guess. Also, I probably could have guessed her name was Kate. You could have just left
literally
that
always
blank.
Kate.
It's always Kate.
It's always Kate. Okay, so what
happened? She saw
happened?
that the boat returned without her lover, I don't know, and this is where the edible really gets me. Okay. So she saw that the boat returned from sea without her love, and she assumes he died. So she takes her own life, only for the love to come home the day later and say, I brought flowers, and Kate is gone.
Bingo. So, okay, you've heard that about a jillion times.
Not quite with as much poise as I just told it, I'm assuming, but you might have heard it. Something similar.
Just to add to the trope, there's a chance she is seen wearing a certain color all the time. You want to take a stab at what that fucking is?
A white dress.
A white fucking dress.
Yeah. It's always Kate in a white dress in the boiler room.
Every now and then you get a red dress, but it's usually white. The lady in white, the lady in red. Blah, blah, blah.
Classic.
Oh, well, I hope it's not true because we really just were so disrespectful about all of that. But
yeah, that too.
But it's just at this point, like you said, it almost sounds fake. Yeah. Another version of that, which is at least like mildly more original, is that she cheated on her husband while he was at sea and got pregnant, and then out of shame she hurt herself.
Oh boy,
and
that
died.
is a twist on that story.
So that's the other version of it, but I don't know if either are true.
Yeah.
The second one is that that the castle was once a school for Jesuit priest students, and one of the students ended up hanging himself in the attic after having an affair with a nun.
Oh, God.
But there's no official records of either of these stories, and management insists the stories are made up, despite the place being haunted. They just think that these are the two stories that kind of explain some of the activity.
Okay.
And that's why I said there were two versions to the Kate story, because someone might be muddling the priest story and the Kate story together, which is why they think she cheated and then she jumped.
And then there's the suicide either way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So as for the ghosts there, just some of the activity, which I will get into later, is that lights flicker on and off, the doors open and close on their own, glasses on the table will turn upside down on their own. Like you'll walk back into the room and the cups are upside down.
That's what was there liquid in it? Because that would be impressive if it gets turned over and the liquid's still in it.
It's like those like shitty kids in a diner where they think it's funny to like make the waitress like have to like lift the cup for their change or something. What am I saying that right?
I don't know. I think I know what you mean, but
I feel like that was a shitty thing I saw like someone do where I think they put like a piece of paper or a napkin or something on top and then turn the cup upside down and it caused like a vacuum.
Yeah.
But they put the waitress's like change,
That's
like her tip change
rude.
in there. So then she had to like pick up the cup and the water goes everywhere just to be able to get the change.
I hope it's
so
water and not like milk or something.
Either way, it's so fucking mean. I don't even know where I heard that from. I don't know. I never did it, but
yeah, it sounds very rude.
Anyway, so I hope that that's not what these fucking ghosts were doing.
Well, I mean, go check if there's money under there. No one find out.
Honestly, that's a great point. Mm-hmm. Apparently, the glasses will also just shatter in people's hands, which I don't hear a lot, but every time I hear it, it freaks me out.
It is. It's something physical, like a physics thing that's freaky about that.
One time in the 70s, a caretaker was in room 306 where Kate allegedly died, and he turned around and saw his keys floating 2 feet above the table and then drop onto the ground by themselves.
Okay, so that kind of goes to one of those questions we sometimes ask, which is when things get moved, do they float their way there? Do they apparate and teleport there? Is there a ghost carrying them? Are they mind moving them? So that is an interesting, like maybe the ghost was trying to hide them and got caught.
Oh,
they
that
were like,
is interesting.
I'm going to take these with me and then drop them because they got caught. I don't know.
But you know what makes it even worse, though, is if that's not usually how it's done and the ghost is only doing this to get their attention.
Ew. Just like
and then it lets you know it knows how to do both.
Yeah, that's worse. Definitely.
Also in room 306, there is said to be a female spirit in a white nightgown with dark hair. And they think it could be Kate, but it could also be one of the Eisenbei's granddaughters. Because apparently she died in the building at 13.
Oh, no.
I will have to look into that because I don't know more about that, and I would like to. There is a spirit that will actually, this makes sense with your theory. There's a spirit throughout the building that likes to move guests' items around and like hide them from you.
Oh, so yeah, maybe that's what they were doing. They got caught.
Mm-hmm. The spirit is said to also love women's shoes.
Oh, okay. I mean, listen, I don't shame.
Good for them. Apparently, as they're looking through guests' things to move them around, they will leave the drawers open. So they're like messy also. Like they're like a petty ghost of like,
like we don't care to clean
I'm
up.
going to look
for
through
ourselves.
your shit and I want you to know I looked through your shit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to be discreet about it.
People also hear singing in the bathroom. People smell something that either to them smells very good or really bad, like death.
Ugh.
I wonder if that's based on if the ghost likes you or not.
Yeah. Or if that's like a perception thing, like that tells a lot about a person, whether you think the smell of death is wonderful or I don't know.
Or like maybe if the spirit feels like being approached or not, will give off a different scent.
Or maybe it's different spirits. One's evil.
We could do this all day.
I know.
Also, people say that they have sensed someone sitting at the foot of their bed watching them sleep, which you have now experienced.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's not fun.
The room even once had a guest book for guests to write their spooky encounters, but I guess guests got so freaked out that they didn't want to stay there anymore, so the book had to get removed.
Yeah, they didn't want everyone to go back through all the old stories.
Which is wild to me because I feel like a lot of buildings are able to use the paranormal as a way to get tourism.
But I wonder if it's like
influx.
When people show up and they don't know, and then they find this book, they're like, well, I didn't sign up for this shit.
Interesting. I feel like you and I are the opposite, where if we go somewhere and find out it's haunted, once we're there, it's like, oh, well, give us like the penthouse suite.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I would like to buy it, please.
Sorry, hang on a second. You just caught it live, but my heart tried to have an SVT episode and it stopped.
Did I do it? Did I make that happen?
No, it's like I told you, they're just so random. Wow, that was weird because I felt it come on and then it couldn't happen.
You feel okay now?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's freaky.
Whew. That was weird. It was weird to feel it not happen when it was absolutely supposed to happen.
Yeah, look at that. It got blocked in its path, got stopped in its path.
Yeah. Ooh, I told you this recently. My doctor told me that they can take away the actual episode, but the feeling of it coming on will just stay forever, which is awful.
Yeah.
They said it was like taking like the fuel out of a lighter, but like the flint you can still...
Oh, like click it. Oh.
So like you can still click it, and my heart just tried to like click it, but like there wasn't any ability to like make the lighter go off, if that makes sense.
Wow.
But I didn't mean to just like totally derail the story.
No, but I'm glad that you have now proof, or like at least some experience that it worked.
Yeah, it was weird to feel it try to happen though. That would have also been so stupid if I was like, oh, now I have to go be upside down for 10 minutes. I'll be right back. Wow. All right. Well, I guess at least for once in my life, we were able to stop it. Okay, cool.
I'm really impressed. That was pretty cool, Em. I mean, from a third party perspective, I hope you're feeling okay.
Yeah. Well, now we know I need a minute when it happens, but then I'm good. Okay. Hey, all right.
Look at that. You made it through.
All right. Okay. Whew. I'm glad we also got that on camera because I can maybe see what I look like when it happens. I would like to know. I was like, do I like kind of like zone out or something? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, back to ghosts now that we're all in the clear. Oh, right. People stare at you while you're sleeping. I forgot. In room 302, that's supposed to be the room that is underneath the attic where the priest is said to have hanged themselves, or the student. So in room 302, directly underneath the attic, people swear that they hear footsteps above them. Apparently, there's also been an EVP caught in the attic of a man saying, "I'm not here," which is so eerie because like either you have really dry sarcasm, or like it sounds like you're trying to say like I'm not supposed to be here, or I don't want you to know that I'm here, or it's got some sort of eerie,
or like my spirit is here but my body's not here. I don't know. It sounds very ominous.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's all funky.
Not here.
It would freak me out, especially because I can't figure out the context.
Yeah, it could be very funny. Like, haha, I'm not here.
Good one.
Hilarious.
It's like, that's such a dad joke of like,
old priest humor,
You know how it goes. So also, I will get into this in full detail, don't you worry, next week. But Ghost Adventures has done an episode there.
Thank God.
I do love how the reason I know that I've covered it before and why my brain was like, where is this episode? Why haven't I covered it yet? Or whatever. It's because I know I've watched the Ghost Adventures episode for research because I know exactly how Zach Bagans says Manresa Castle, and he really emphasizes the Reese. He goes, Manresa Castle. And
I wonder if it's because he said it wrong the first few times and then they had to be like, try again. Manresa.
You've got this, ZB.
You got it.
So I was like, I know I've watched this and I know I watched it for notes. So... But anyway, Ghost Adventures has done an episode there. They got an EVP of a girl giggling. And I'll talk about this next time too, but just to throw it out there, a housekeeper actually talked to them when they were doing their walkthrough and said that something straight up punched her in the fucking face.
Oh, no.
And a child's handprint was left on her leg. I don't know if it was the same day or not, but Really creepy if it was a little kid who punched you in the face.
Well,
but even creepier if it's a grown-ass man
I was going to
ghost.
say, I wish, but I don't know.
Ugh. Anyway, other EVPs that have been caught in this house are in German. Fun fact. So we will need you there on site, on location to let us know.
Call my manager, see if I'm available.
Okay, I'll text who is also my manager, and I'll be like, get Christine to the Manresa Castle right now. Well, apparently the Eisenbeis family was from Prussia, so that would make sense. Also, there's said to be a ghost cat there, all this good stuff. So I will go into full detail on that next week. Cool. But another location is in Port Townsend is the Jefferson County Historical Society's Museum of Art and History, which is quite a mouthful. And the librarian there, this is kind of an odd one. I don't know how spooky it is, but she swears by it that she found some documents when working there of a local judge, but she found them in like a really weird place in the library where they should not have been. And the documents dated back to the 1890s. Whoa. And she said she felt like they were almost intentionally placed there to be found by someone.
Ew.
And as she was inputting the information into the computer, she felt like someone was over her shoulder the entire time staring her down to make sure the information was put down correctly.
Or they were like, what is that? And it's a computer and they've never seen it before.
It's like, how are the words showing up on this
understand.
Thing? But so that's one ghost
spooky
at the museum. At Winwood's Gallery and Bead Studio.
Oh, sure.
We all got one.
The Wabs.
What did you say?
The Wabs with the silent G.
They have a ghost that might also be a poltergeist, because the activity is just so strong. And one of the things it does is literally rattles chains.
Ew. Like chains that aren't there, I'm assuming. Like you hear the chains. Mm-hmm. Ew, that's gross. That sounds like they're trying to be spooky and that's all they can come up with.
It sounds like a black-eyed kid is trying to be like a stereotype of a ghost.
Right? Like, it's like, what are you doing? What do you think you're doing?
Make a chain sound. Windows open and close. Items get thrown around throughout the night. And apparently there's a lot of yarn there. And the yarn is always found unraveled and tossed over the staircase railings.
Oh, right. It's the bead studio. So, yeah. Oh, yes. So that would suck. So you're trying to
just
sell
imagine your
wares.
Whole job is just like having to
re-roll the yarn? Oh, my God. What a nightmare.
What a nightmare.
Are you sure they don't have a cat? Because I feel like that would be something a cat would cause problems, you know?
That's a great question. Also, how come you've never given your cat a ball of yarn and just put them in a room and just let them go crazy?
You seen what happens? It sounds like what's happening in your story right now.
Apparently, I need to go to a bead studio and
thrown over the stairs.
Get the firsthand experience. The next place is the Palace Hotel, which was a popular brothel in the 20s and 30s. It was nicknamed the Palace of Sweets. Gross.
Oh!
And all 19 rooms are named after the women who worked there. I don't know if that means only 19 women work there or only the 19 favorites, which feels fucked up.
19 favorites.
And people actually still see women in Victorian gowns walking throughout the hotel.
Oh.
One spirit there, her name is either Miss Claire or Miss Catherine. I'm going to go with Miss Catherine because a shorter version of that is Kate, just like every other female ghost in the world. She is a lady in a colored dress, but shockingly, a blue dress.
Okay, that's new.
It's even newer because she's seen coming and going through a portrait of her in the hotel.
Now that's the way to go.
So dramatic.
That's a Linda move right there, if I've ever heard of one.
Oh, you like this portrait? Just wait until you see what else it can do, and then just
3D.
Walk out of it. 4D, really.
I'm sorry, it's 4D.
Another spirit there during a Ouija board session said that her name was Betty, and she's 39.
Oh, okay.
Not as impressive as walking through your own portrait.
Nice try, Betty, but...
Betty made herself known the best she could, I think.
Yeah, she's a little more introverted.
She was like, that person over there, I'm not even going to try to match their energy.
No.
There is a housekeeper at the hotel that says that the spirits are very kind and once saw the spirit of a young boy on the 3rd floor. And a medium who came to the hotel said that little boy's name was Adam, and he went up to her directly and asked where his mother was.
Oh, come on.
That's pretty heartbreaking.
That's terrible.
In the basement of this hotel, I guess there was a houseless man who used to sleep there, and he is still seen in his plaid shirt that he was wearing and still looks very much alive. People are shocked when they find out that that was a ghost.
Jeez.
In the same basement, a medium said that there's also a lot of sad energy down there because women from the brothel would go down there to bury their stillborn infants.
Okay, it just kept getting worse.
There had to be a sad section to all of this.
Oh, God.
The medium also said that in the basement there was a priest named Father Patrick who would go down there and provide last rites to these infants, but he fell in love with one of the women.
Oh,
and
boy.
When they slept together, he felt too guilty that he couldn't be a priest anymore, or he felt like he had broken the code, and so he can no longer provide last rites for these babies, and his guilt is said to still be felt in the basement.
Wow, so he must have really believed in his priestly duties and vow, and then that must have been a horrible feeling.
Yeah, so it's a lot of reasons to be sad in the basement. Then I don't know where this is in Port Townsend. Maybe I couldn't find a location. I just know the ghost of Abigail. She is kind of roams the town.
Yeah,
she is. So her dad was a business owner, and when she was 17, she started helping him with the businesses. When she met a sailor named Brian, and he moved into the building right above one of her family stores. And they began dating in secret, which her father would have not approved because he was of a lower class. Remember, he was a sailor and probably lived by the water, and she's an uptown girl. So they started dating in secret, but when Abigail's father found out, him and Brian got into this huge fist fight, and they ended up settling on that they would do a duel, like Hamilton style.
Yeah.
And so they did the whole thing where they walked away from each other and then turned and fired on each other. And they missed each other, but one of their bullets hit Abigail.
What?
In the throat and killed her. And so now on foggy nights, Abigail is seen often on the staircase between uptown and downtown, which is so symbolic.
That is a beautiful metaphor.
Poetry. But yeah, hopefully all of these stories, by the way, are a complete farce and not true. But
yeah, for the reason that they're just very sad.
Yeah, they're so sad. There were ghosts all the way back in even the 1800s. There's one story of two men at night finding a ghost on the waterfront, and his head had been split in the middle by an axe.
Oh my God. Oh no.
So what the fuck is that about?
What the fuck is that about?
And both of them, I guess, had really they were really well loved in town and had very good reputation. So when they came into town the next day and said that they had seen that, everyone believed them. So that's a story that's been carried on.
Must be nice.
Must be nice. I could say anything and someone would go, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And then the last one is there's another haunted museum in Washington, the Rothschild House. And like Charles Eisenbeis Jr., the head of the Rothschild family got really badly hit during the Depression and shot himself.
Oh, geez.
He's still thought to remain in the house, and the home has stayed in the family, or at least it did until the 60s, and then it became a museum. And many family members who lived and died in the house still haunt there, and people can tell because there's temperature changes, doors slam, people feel stared at, it's also one of those places where people feel like sick and dizzy, and they feel fear. And it's almost like they're feeding off of you, and you can feel what they were probably feeling at some point.
That scares me a lot when that happens, just because, well, we've felt it, or at least I've felt it when we've gone to certain places, and it's a terrible feeling like you're not in control of your own emotions or feelings. And I don't know, I think it freaks me out too, because it feels very internal, whereas if something brushes by you, it was just on the surface. But if it's in your mind, that feels extra invasive.
Super, I can't imagine anything more violating than something in your head. Ironically, people say that though the spirits are active here, they mean no harm, which okay. Well, I'll believe you, I guess, as long as I don't have to feel it. And those are just some of the ghosts from Port Townsend.
I can't believe how haunted that is, and I can't believe my brother just went there. What a fun little
now we've got
crossover.
a list of places for him to visit when he just needs to see that lighthouse again.
I said, did you stay overnight in town? Because I heard you covered that hotel. And then he said, no, that night we were in Forks for the Twilight vibes.
Shut up. No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Hey, topical. We should have had him on here to tell us the real scoop.
I'm saying.
The 411 of Washington.
They were like on the ground. What do they call it? On the scene. They were on the scene. They were also on the ground, I think.
Unless they were in that lighthouse.
Unless they were in the lighthouse or in the water. Oh, okay. Wow, and that was a great one. I really liked that. I love all your stories, but ghosty ones are a personal favorite, you know.
Thank you. Well, I hope we go to Port Townsend sometime, and I hope we go to Forks sometime, and I can freak out about all the things I never read about. But
I love that, though, for you, because you've probably read it more than a lot of people. I mean, you've read it, and a lot of people, I'm sure, have only seen the movies, so.
When I was 14, I do remember that book and like the original like neon green paperback of The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, yeah, for
Those
sure.
two books, absolutely my identity was wrapped up in those two stories. And I couldn't rattle myself away from them for a year. I was
know what book I still picture in my mind, which I don't even think I ever read? That one called Prep, where the belt was like, it was like one of those.
I never heard of that.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Preppy.
What is
prep? It? Hold on. It was a book about like prep school. But the cover was so like 2000. Like I'm sending you the picture. It's like a lime green and hot pink. One of those belts that were different colors. Hold on. I'm sending it to the Geos Trio. And you pulled it through. I don't know how to explain it. It had two links, like two metal links.
Oh, you are kind of pulling something out of my brain there, but I never had interest in that one.
I used to have those belts.
We all had those belts. I don't even know what they're called, but wow, were they so stupid.
No, I never even read this book. I just very specifically remember that looking at that belt and being like, that is a memoriam to the early aughts.
There was a book. It was called Bad Girls or Bad Girls Club or something.
Babysitter's Club.
It wasn't Babysitter's Club, but I remember the word Bad Girls in it, and it was in the children's library. So I imagine like the most bad thing they did was like smoke a cigarette or something.
Yeah. Oh God.
But I remember my mom saying that she'd even read the book, so it must be like when she was a kid. So it must be from the 60s or 70s. And I remember a copy of it being in our school library, and this I'm sorry. She was a B word, which I don't use often, but she was fucking awful.
The main character?
No, not in the book. A real person in real life. She was our school librarian.
Oh.
She was so goddamn mean.
I thought she had it in the book.
No, but for many reasons, she was truly actually a horrible person. And
is it this book? Sorry.
Did you send me the text?
I just sent it to the group.
That must maybe. I really don't remember what it looked like at all, but it had like a cover to it that had gone missing, so it was just like a black book with the name on it.
That was released in 2005, so I don't know.
But this book, all I wanted to do was read it, and like I even remember thinking then, I don't really like to read. The fact that I want to read, I should be encouraged by the
librarian. Be happy about that.
And she refused to ever let me touch that book, and
Why?
she was like. She just said like, oh, it's too... to be completely honest, in hindsight, she was a raging conservative.
Right.
And, but she told me... I remember trying to check out the book when I was like 7. And she was like, maybe when you're older. And then I tried at 8. And she was like, maybe when you're older.
I don't
and
think
then
you're allowed to do that.
Well, then she said, because 5th grade is like the end of elementary school for me. And so she was like, maybe when you're in 5th grade and you're older. And I was like, I can't possibly get older in elementary school to a point where I can now qualify to read this book. So at 5th grade, I finally asked like, hey, can I read this book? And then she said like, oh no, I don't think it's good for you. Maybe when you're older. And I was like, girl, I'm going to another building now. I'm never going to come back here.
Honestly, you should go back.
So I did in 8th grade. I was like, when I went back just to be like, I'm going to read this now. And then she went, you can't. And I went, then take it out of your system.
Why did she have it there? I mean,
I hated her. She also had a very specific vendetta against divorced children.
Oh, yeah. We had some of those. Not divorced children. We had those too, but we had some people with the vendetta.
She saw us as like broken or from broken homes.
Fucked up.
And so she would pull all of us aside and like very condescendingly try to let us know that we're important. And I was like,
ew.
She was awful. She also put me in detention one time for eating carrots. I'm not kidding.
Oh my
and
God.
she didn't have a better reason. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, they just gross some people out. And I was like, what is
Ew.
like carrots? Like you have a problem with carrots? In the Bad Girls Club book, apparently. Like what? Anyway.
What a very specific niche.
You know who you are, and you know that you're not liked by a lot of children of divorced homes.
You are.
Just know that we still talk about it.
Yeah, and as another person who's from a divorced home and trusts M's opinion of people implicitly, I also don't like you. So there.
I literally never use the B word about a person. I can't even say it.
You haven't even said it.
but this person was just had
Here,
such
I'll say
a crisis.
You're a butthead.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, someone needed to finally say it.
She was really just so awful. And it's not even like my 10-year-old brain thought it. And now that I've grown up, I'm being dramatic. She really was out to she was just a miserable person who wanted other people to be miserable too.
Yeah, it's scary to look back on people from our childhood and look at them now as adults and still realize, oh no, they were actively harming people.
Yeah, there are some people I can look back on and I'm like, okay, I get it. But
I get it, yeah.
You still have a lot to answer for.
Consider this your call to arms. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Well, on that note, I hope still listening because I got a great story for her.
Is it about children of a broken home and eating carrots or something?
I would never touch something so scary and dark. You know me better than that.
God, what a nightmare.
So this is the story of the abduction of Denise Huskins. And it's a relatively recent story. And it was when we were out of college and starting grad school. So I wonder if you know about this story. So
far, no.
Okay. We'll see if you catch on, because Blaze knew what it was sort of when I mentioned it. Okay. So Denise Huskins, she was born in 1987, and she met her boyfriend Aaron Quinn in 2014 at this 9-month physical therapy residency where they were both attending. They were in Vallejo, California, and both work as physical therapists. So Aaron had recently broken off his engagement with another woman after discovering she had cheated on him. But he was still living with her. So his ex-fiance was still in the same apartment. They were just living in different bedrooms. And
awkward.
So awkward. But, it's Vallejo is Northern California, I think. So imagine the prices on breaking up a fiance and then having to move.
Fiscally makes sense.
So he told her this. He told Denise that he was still living with his ex-fiance. But basically, he said, I'm interested in you. And they clicked pretty immediately and fell in love very fast. However, after a few months, Denise discovered that Aaron was still texting his ex-fiance, and she didn't feel great about it.
Okay.
So she confronted him and said, you know what, not in a mean way, but just it feels like you're torn. It feels like you're still pursuing your ex. And I want you to make a choice. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah, an ultimatum.
Yeah, basically. And she said, I want you to commit to me or, we're breaking up. Not in a aggressive way, just you have to decide if you're in or out,
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. I would open, streamlined communication in this relationship. Where do you stand? Let me know.
No secrets, no secret conversations. And so his ex-fiance moved out. He said, I'm all in with you, Denise. And will you come over and we will talk it out. So they had one of those nights that I have had with not many partners, but I've had with partners where you're early on in the relationship, you stay up all night, either coming to the same page or not arguing necessarily, but just
figuring it out.
Yeah, figuring it out. I don't know if that's just a me thing, but I feel like I've been in that situation before. So they spent all night in a very vulnerable conversation. And at the end of the night, they both felt like they were on good terms. They were we're going to stick together and make this work. And they were very happy with the way their conversation had gone. So Denise and Aaron curl up in bed together. And again, they're at Aaron's house. and they're relieved that they talked things out, and they are looking forward to their future together.
Okay. That's nice.
That is nice. That's like best case scenario. And now here comes worst case scenario. That night, after they go to bed, after their long talk, March 23rd, 2015, around 3 a.m., Denise is in a deep, deep sleep when she is awoken by somebody, a man, saying, "Wake up, this is a robbery. We're not here to hurt you." And she said she was just hoping it was a dream, but the man repeated the phrase, and she realized after he repeated it multiple times that this was a real life invasion, and there were people in her bedroom.
Okay.
I guess his bedroom, but where she was sleeping.
Terrifying.
So at this point, Aaron is waking up as well, and the way he described it, I listened to Criminal podcast did a 2-parter on this, and they actually interviewed the two of them. And he explains that he woke up and was just so frozen with fear, but he was staring at the ceiling and could see like the kind of light that the intruders were holding. And there were also red lasers, like from a gun. You know what I mean? Like,
shit.
Like they could see the red light from a gun moving around the room. So wild. The same voice, which by the way was this kind of robotic voice, like very like measured and robotic and pre-planned, was reassuring Denise as she forcibly tied up Aaron. So they said, take these zip ties. They're instructing, the voice is instructing her, take these zip ties, which, you know, we don't like the zip tie thing, and bind Aaron's legs and hands. And while she's doing this voice, this robotic voice, keeps reassuring her and saying, you are doing a good job. You are staying very calm. In like this monotone robotic voice.
That's so extra.
It's
cold, sinister.
Yeah.
I don't know what it feels more evil, I guess, because you can't even relate to hearing a human voice. Like I know that like it wouldn't be better if like some strange man's voice was saying this, but I feel like you have no way of connecting to a person when they take even the voice away.
Exactly. And Denise said this something really similar about the fact that it was so kind. She said it was almost eerie, worse because it felt like a manipulation tactic. Like, we're being so kind and gentle to you, but we're also like forcibly invading your home and harming you.
It's like the evil smile of you're like, it's almost like you're trying to comfort me.
You're like playing on it. In a complete
crisis you're causing.
Yeah. So it's like extra dark. So as she's tying up her boyfriend, they're saying, you know, you're doing a great job. Just super creepy. And then they make Denise walk across the bedroom to the closet. And as she walked and was looking at the floor, she noticed there were 2 sets of legs. So she knew, wearing all black, so she knew there were at least 2 intruders.
Okay.
One of them made Denise put on a pair of swim goggles, and then they duct taped the goggles over her eyes to blind her.
Wow. Okay.
Ugh, I don't like
I hate that.
He was careful not to pull her hair with the tape. Once again, this like gentle theme of like pulling her hair out of the way to make sure it doesn't get caught in the tape. Very gross. And then he put, this just gets weirder and weirder. He put headphones on her.
For complete deprivation? Like no sensory? What?
No, they played calming music. And it had like a voiceover on this tape on these headphones.
Was it like the same Microsoft Sam voice?
Yeah, so it's the same guy, and he says.
So he pre-made a track.
A mixtape for this occasion.
I feel like at this point it's got to be the fiance already.
So it's like already so.
It feels like it's got to be someone who clearly cares about her and doesn't want to hurt her,
and is like very specifically trying to make this less traumatic, as if you could do that.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's not. I don't want to like. It sounds like
there becomes a big kerfuffle around.
Okay.
Whodunit.
I was gonna say
so you're in the right you're in the right headspace of whodunit. You know.
Okay.
We're gonna try and
I didn't want to
like this, but there is an answer at the end, so this is not an unsolved.
Cool.
Yeah. So don't worry. You'll get at least the reassurance of an answer.
Jeez. Okay.
So it's playing this calming music, and then the same robotic voice said things like, stay calm. we are not here to hurt you. Which, by the way, sounds like an alien to me. But
I was about to say.
doesn't it? Like speaking in a very creepy voice and trying to make you feel calm, even though there's no way you feel calm right now.
Yeah, it feels, yeah, exactly. It's like very clinical.
Yeah.
Like,
ew.
some sort of like, yeah, I don't like it.
Icky. So it says, we are not here to hurt you. This is not your fault. We are here purely for financial reasons. This will be over soon. And so this is just what she's hearing in these headphones in the closet, alongside like soft instrumental music that's meant to be calming. So Denise recognized that all this comfort was an intense manipulation tactic. And it was, like we said, even more terrifying because it was like the burglars had planned this whole thing. It wasn't like, oh, they just stumbled upon a house that they could break into. It was like, we knew what we were doing and we prepared for it. Even the psychological aspects of it. And then she realized that they knew Aaron's name because they...
I was going to say that earlier because you said, oh, tie Aaron's legs up. But
yes.
I thought you were just letting me know that it was Aaron's legs,
no,
not that like you were quoting it.
Yeah, they did say, tie up Aaron's legs and hands. And they told Aaron himself, turn over on your stomach, Aaron. And so
that's what it's okay. So this is someone who clearly cares about like trying to talk them through this dark situation.
This dark time.
This dark time they've created. And also they know Aaron. So I feel like I already know the answer, but I'm probably not right. Okay.
It's weird. So this is like this manipulation tactic. They clearly are psychologically like prepared for what's going to happen. They have a mixtape they already brought with them. All very disturbing. Then the voice said that he was a medical professional and that he would use a concoction of NyQuil and diazepam to sedate the two of them. And fun fact, diazepam is Valium. Clonazepam is Klonopin. And I think, I don't want to say it wrong. Ativan is Alazap. No, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's not a fun fact that I know benzos. Sorry. I don't know.
Alazapram is Xanax because that's what I have.
Okay. Then I don't know what Ativan is. Anyway, so she's in the closet. This voice is going over saying, stay calm. And then the next thing they do is say, we're going to drug you. But don't worry. I'm a medical professional, which I guess is supposed to be, once again, are you Googling it?
I was.
Does it say?
Well, I said it. Xanax is alprazolam, and then Ativan is lorazepam.
Lorazepam. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry,
fun fact.
I wasn't going to steal your thunder, but I wanted to be able to give you the...
figured it out. Before we got a bunch of tweets being like, you don't even know your benzos. Okay. All right. So anyway, they say, stay calm. I'm a medical professional and I'm going to sedate you with Valium and NyQuil, but I'm a medical professional, so it's all okay. I guess that was supposed to be calming. He even took their blood pressures.
Okay, so like fully either committing to the act or is actually a doctor.
Yeah, but also, if you were a doctor, why would you be doing that? Like, that does it, like, if you were a doctor robbing someone, what's the point of checking their blood pressure? It's just a weird thing to do, no matter what. But he also asked questions about their medical history, their allergies, and he said, are you on any medications that might interfere with the Ativan or the NyQuil? And it's like, why do you care? It seems like he genuinely cares whether...
I feel like maybe like the other guy that was clearly involved in this had to be like, Bob, we're robbing them. Like, you need to leave work at the office. Like, we've got to steal the money.
Blood pressure cuff out of it. Damn it! I thought we got rid of all those. He was hiding a blood pressure cuff on him. He's like,
oh my gosh, this is so funky.
Isn't it weird? It's very weird. It's one of the weirder ones I've done. So Aaron and Denise drank the sedatives because it was like NyQuil mixed with Valium.
Diazepam. Also, it feels like you have to like almost trust what the voice is saying, because if they're just going to are they just like drinking it on their own instead of it being forced down their throat? Because so then you just have to blindly trust that it really is that combo, not like arsenic or something.
Yeah, you don't actually know. I mean, yeah, he could easily be lying. But I'm pretty sure in the criminal episode she said that they said if you don't drink it, we will inject it. So
oh God, this poor fucking girl.
Yeah, okay. It's like what's worse, you know? Neither one's good.
The trauma, I can't imagine.
Exactly. So Aaron and Denise drink the sedatives, and then the voice starts grilling them for their bank account information. And at first, you know, Denise is like, okay, that makes sense. They're trying to steal our money. And she's still hoping this is just a robbery, even though at this point it's like clearly they're in it for way more than money. They're getting way involved with this couple for some reason. And so the voice asks for their bank account information, even their iTunes password. Like, that's how thorough, which, by the way, I'd be dead because I don't fucking remember my the number of people who don't know their Apple ID password, which is everyone on the planet. So I don't really understand how this was so effective, but I guess it worked because
iTunes. Can I ask what the point was of like what were they going to find?
They just said they were trying to rob them of anything and everything they could, any dime they could possibly have.
I guess I'm not totally surprised by that because if this person is like. I'm going to roll with this person is actually a doctor or in the medical world in some way. I just immediately associate those people with like a type A personality and like having lists for
like
everything.
Overly prepared.
Hello, they literally had their own like fucking SoundCloud or something playing. So like it sounds like they thought
that's probably why they want the iTunes password. They're like, I want to download this on as many people's Napsters as possible.
We need to subscribe. Well, I feel like it feels like they beyond over prepared, so I'm not surprised they probably had a checklist of like everything down to an iTunes account. Like
it was like a long list, so they clearly had sat there and gone. And you know, I've done that before when I'm budgeting, and which is a very rare occurrence. But when I'm budgeting and I'm like, what do I pay for every month? And then I just keep thinking of things like $5 donation to this, or like, oh, that $9.99 I pay for Netflix or what have you. So I wonder if you just sat there, literally came up with every possible subscription you could have.
Maybe they have a subscription to like Truebill or something where it just shows you a list of every service.
Well, that is promo code drink because this is not an ad, but I tell you, they're a great service.
Not meant to be an ad, but also like very useful.
Also good on you, Truebill. Yeah, so they're asking for every single password, including iTunes passwords and more. Again, being eerily, quote unquote, considerate, the voice asked Denise if there's anything on her phone that she doesn't want Aaron to see. And she's like, no. And he's like, okay, then I'll give it to Aaron.
But also, okay, wait, but so fucking considerate of like, oh, do you have any like...
Any
nudes or
boyfriends,
something?
Any nudies on there you don't want him to see? And she's like,
why on
no.
earth would someone care about like if you're this feels like, you know, how the those stories you've covered of like the nicest robber in town or something.
Yeah. He's apologizing the whole time.
Yeah, he's at least thinking like, hey, like before I ruin your relationship any further.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me help you get rid of like the DMs or something, or you know.
Like, I'll just close out the DMs before I hand him the phone. It's so strange, and it like flies in the face of every crime, like every violent robbery we've
like they're doing physical crime, but like they have such a moral compass.
Yes, it's the weirdest combination, and it just doesn't add up, you know. And so he takes the phone to Aaron and he starts quizzing him on even more personal information. He wants everybody's name, everybody's information. And this whole time, Denise is just praying that like, okay, please, like she knows, I think subconsciously, but she's praying that this is just a burglary. And then the voice picks her up. And I'm saying the voice as in like whoever is behind the voice.
Like Jarvis is just hanging out somewhere.
So the voice picks Denise up and carries her downstairs and lays her on Aaron's couch. Okay. He asked if she was comfortable, and she said she was cold, so he put a blanket over her. Then the voice went upstairs to Aaron, and when he came back, he told Denise, there's a problem. First of all, she's probably like, yeah, no shit. You also duct tape goggles to my face. There is certainly a problem.
Again, she must have, I hope this doesn't sound victim blaming because that's not what I'm trying to do here. But it's interesting that she felt safe enough to like address that she was cold. Because I feel like if someone said like, if someone broke into my house and then was like, is there anything I can like help you with? I'd
It's
be
a
like,
great point.
yo, I'm good. If I'm alive, I'm okay. Please don't hurt me.
I don't even think it's like on her. I think it's almost like this intruder was clearly so good at disarming her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
or maybe she was trying to connect with it.
Or maybe she was playing along and didn't want to get, in trouble, so to speak. Yeah. So he puts a blanket on her, then he comes back down. He says, we've got a problem here. And she's like, no shit. But basically they say to her, we thought you were Jennifer, Aaron's ex-fiance. Because remember, she had just moved out.
I also I'm sorry, who the fuck are these people? Because they're now also.
I thought you were Jennifer. My bad.
So now they're admitting to the person they're doing all this to. They're just they're like, well, now that we have a cute back and forth, now that we've got this rapport, I feel like I should let you know this was the original plan and I fucked it up.
Oopsies. Yeah, that's basically how this whole thing goes.
Holy
so
shit.
They go, we thought you were Jennifer. And they even asked Aaron, like, does Jennifer look similar to Denise? And he was like, yeah, they both have long blonde hair. And they were like, oh man, we got it mixed up. And so
who are these people? What the fuck is going on?
And it's such a batshit story. So I don't know. What is she supposed to do with that information? She's like, does that mean I get to go? Does that mean you're going to kill me now? Like, Denise doesn't know what that means. Oh, we thought you were Jennifer. The voice calmly told Denise, I'm going to take you hostage for 48 hours. And he then explained how this was going to work. He explained the process for how...
Now you're in the fold. You have to play along with us.
You're Jennifer for now, just temporarily. So he says, we're going to transport you in a trunk, and then we're going to transfer you to a different trunk. And then we're going to take you to a location and kidnap you for 48 hours. But don't worry, you'll be fine.
I'd be like, can you... Okay. I wouldn't even know what to say to that.
We're going to take you hostage for 48 hours. We're going to tell you every step of the way what's going on. We're going to take you in the trunk. And get this, Denise says, can I use the bathroom before we leave? And he's like, sure, of course. And he just lets her go to the bathroom by herself, like with, just says, I want you to have privacy. So
thank you for respecting my privacy.
It's so mind-boggling.
I finally don't feel violated by tonight.
Yeah, how polite. And so then he finds her overnight bag that she had packed to stay at Aaron's and grabbed it along with her purse and glasses to make sure she had all her belongings. Okay. And on their way out, Denise asked for the blanket because she was shaking so hard. She was like, can I bring the blanket? And he apologized. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't notice how cold it was because we're wearing wetsuits.
This guy really...
unhinged.
He's got to just be the worst criminal there ever was.
He is. He's in that dumb criminal book, but it's just him. It's a book is only about him because this is next level.
Like, is he trying to... Because it would be fucking sinisterly genius if he was just throwing out facts like this to throw her off and he was never in a wetsuit or something.
He was in a tuxedo.
You get it.
Or a Speedo. And he's like, yes, I do know how cold it is because I'm naked right now, but I'll never tell you. Yeah. So he says we're in a wetsuit. And she actually said in the criminal episode, she said she thought that was very weird, but actually Aaron thought it made some sense because they were right on the water. I guess the town Vallejo is like right on the water and there are ways you could escape like via waterway. So
they plan on like they're escaping a big like a swimming situation.
So that's what he said. Maybe that's why. So that is what clicked in Aaron's head. And Aaron, because he lived in this town, so he knew. And then he also said maybe it was a way for them to avoid dropping DNA by basically just covering their whole bodies in a wetsuit so that they wouldn't, shed any hair or skin cells, etc. So either way, they give her the blanket because she's cold, and they put her in the trunk, and then they say, we're going to close the trunk now. And so Aaron is inside and he can still hear this. And so he hears them say, okay, Denise, we're going to put you in the trunk and we're going to close the lid. And he's just helpless inside, like hearing his girlfriend being taken away.
Oh my God. Wow.
Trauma. And so they put her in Aaron's car, the trunk, take Aaron's car, and basically just spirited her away into the night in the trunk with her blanket. And she was heavily sedated at this point. And so she's trying to stay awake, but she's drifting in and out of consciousness. She's in pain because she's crammed sideways into this trunk.
Sure.
And of course, her mind is like racing with all the possibilities. You know, are they going to set the car on fire with me in it? Are they going to
What's going to happen to my boyfriend?
Yeah, have they killed my boyfriend? Like any possible number of horrible things that could be going on. And speaking of boyfriend, meanwhile, Aaron's back at home, and this time he gets headphones. And so he gets a set of headphones on him. And this also has a pre-recorded message. The pre-recorded message explains that they were kidnapping Jennifer, but then they had to put like the little brackets and say Denise.
Like all of a sudden they put like they had to rewrite it
like
last
a correction. Yeah, like how our book, we couldn't correct the typos in time. That's kind of what happened. It's like it's already printed into my SoundCloud, so I can't change it now. But just imagine every time I say Jennifer, that I'm saying Denise is what I imagine they told him. So they said, we're kidnapping Denise for ransom. And they had very explicit instructions for him. They said his phone, computer, and house were all wired, and if he tried to call the police, they would hurt Denise and hurt his family. They said they knew everything about him and gave him instructions on receiving phone calls and emails from them. And it said, you will pay $15,000 if you want to get Denise back. So this is what this SoundCloud recording is saying into his ears. So eventually, Aaron, who had also been sedated, passes out. And when he wakes up, he immediately follows the instructions that the voice had left him. He exchanged emails and texts with this mysterious intruder who told him to wire over 2 separate payments of $8,500 because I guess that was the cap of like where you'd have to report it. I think $8,500. So it was 2 separate $8,500 payments.
Again, talk about being type A. Like the fact that they knew that, like they really did their research.
Yeah, it's weirdly researched,
but then could not execute with just announcing your plan half the time.
Great point. Greatly executed greatly prepared and not well executed. And so as they had instructed him, he called out of work and then he texted Denise's boss and said, oh, she had a family emergency, so she won't be coming in today. This is what they told him to do.
Okay.
Finally, he's so desperate for help, he doesn't know what to do because he's been told not to dial 911. And like, think about it. His fear is, I call 911. What if they kill Denise? They're like, well, you broke the rules, you know, and he doesn't want that, obviously. So he calls his brother. And it just so happens his brother is a special agent for the FBI.
They didn't research that, I bet.
They clearly didn't. And he said, if they saw that I was calling someone, I would just say, oh, it's just my brother. And they could confirm it was his brother, but, they didn't realize that he was working for the FBI. So he calls his brother, and his brother is like, we got to call 911. We need like the whole police force behind this. So as soon as the police arrived, they unfortunately acted suspicious of Aaron. So they asked if he was on drugs.
Can you imagine calling your brother and being like, I need help? And then they go, what did you do?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, we think you should go to jail now. Thanks for calling. So they are suspicious of him. They ask if he is on drugs, and he says, yes, this intruder drugged me. And they're like, so you've been partying? And he's like, no,
God.
I'm not partying. I've been drugged by force.
I can't imagine thinking you finally like have a way into getting help and just getting, I can't imagine the panic too, like not just like the frustration of not being heard, but the panic of like, you're not taking this seriously and my girlfriend is fucking taken somewhere.
It's like one of the most infuriating things I feel like we see with true crime when victims are not taken seriously or taken at their word. It's like just painful to watch and read about. And so, yeah, they're like, oh, so you've been partying, huh? And he's like, no, I'm not partying. I've been drugged by an intruder and they took my girlfriend. Then they asked if he was drinking. He's like, no, I have not been drinking. And they're acting super casual, as if like he didn't just tell them Denise's life was on the line. They wandered around the house a bit. Then they asked Aaron if he'd been fighting with Denise. And pretty quickly, Aaron realized, oh, wait, I'm not a victim here. I'm a suspect.
Shit.
They take him to the police station and they take his clothes as evidence and put him in prison sweats almost immediately, as if he's already, there. And they sent in a guy, which, by the way, I want to add to that apparently he did not ask for a lawyer because he had seen on so many shows and stuff that if you call a lawyer, you're guilty. You know what I mean? Like only the guilty ones like immediately lawyer up, so to speak. And so he didn't call a lawyer right away. And I want to point out right here, folks, you have the right to an attorney. It doesn't matter why. If you're in that position, call somebody. Because they can really, they know tactics to make you say whatever they want. It's just a scary situation to be in, I imagine. So, you know, just a little PSA. You can always call for a lawyer. So they're acting like he's a suspect. They put him in police sweats. And then they bring in a guy named Detective Matt Mustard.
Is he related to Colonel Mustard?
That's my uncle, Colonel Mustard.
It's like nepotism.
I know, right? Because he ends up, I don't know if he was sergeant at this point, but yeah, he was Sergeant Detective Matt Mustard is what his name is.
So this is just Colonel Mustard's like prequel.
I think so.
His arc story. Okay.
His villain arc. You'll see why. So,
oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, we don't love Matt Mustard, despite the awesome name. So meanwhile, Denise was transferred from Aaron's car to a different trunk. So like second location, basically in the trunk of the car, and then ended up blindfolded at a strange house. The voice tells her to shower and gave her some privacy. And he said he didn't want to, quote, dehumanize her more than he already had.
Oh, thanks. Finally.
Thanks
so glad you care.
Yeah, really. I mean, I wonder if this is how Stockholm Syndrome happens, because I'm like, this is so twisted, this mind game, you know?
And I wouldn't blame her.
No, not at all. So meanwhile, Denise is at this new place and she takes a shower and has the privacy during this period, at least. Well, she doesn't really have privacy, but he's acting like he's giving her privacy. And then the voice explains to her, and remember, this whole time she still has the goggles on and duct tape over her face, so she can't see. And the voice tells her that he and his colleagues were part of a highly organized group that collects ransom for people in debt and with other needs.
Okay.
So basically, like a black market, they said, for helping people get out of debt. But like, they're the good guys. It's sort of, I imagine it's sort of like a Robin Hood thing where they're like, we're taking money, but we want to do it as painlessly as possible. And we're doing it to help people. I don't know. Is what the vibe was to me.
Sure.
He said, now this is where you will probably laugh, because he said it was his first mission he ever led with the group. And I think that tracks.
I was going to say, what a Kel surprise.
Kel surprise. He is like, basically face palming because he's like, oh, I thought you were Jennifer. And, you know, he already admitted.
The second he said wetsuit, I feel like the guy in the other room went, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's like, or the, like, clearly the second guy did not, like, fact checked or QA the audio when he was like, I am a doctor. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Come on,
you don't have this much creative freedom. We told you. So he said a week ago they had already been in Aaron's house, and that would have been before Denise was staying there. So they're like, we had already scouted the house, which is also creepy to think that they had already been in the house before and just like left without touching anything. Yucko. Hate it.
It's super violating.
Super violating. And they said that night they were going to do more and attack that night, except there was a heavy local police presence, so they postponed until this night. So he told Denise that the members of this group he was in were highly skilled. Some were ex-military. She had no idea at this point what to think, or like what he was even going to do to her. He left her alone for a while and then came back and said, we have another complication. Now,
what?
It gets pretty dark here because he tells her, we thought you were Jennifer, as she's like, I fucking know already. And we had collateral on Jennifer. We did our research. We knew all the kind of things we could hold against her as collateral damage.
But we don't have anything against you to not rat on us, so now we have to kill you.
We have to rape you and make a video of it as collateral damage. That's what he says to her. He says, one of the men is going to have to rape you. Or I'm sorry, he said sleep with you, but, I'm using the proper verbiage here. And he says they would record it, and if she tried to report any of these details, then they would release the video as blackmail. And she's thinking to herself, okay, release it as blackmail, but it's rape, so like why would that be,
Right.
But so he tells her, in order for it to not look like assault, I want you to make it look consensual. And so she's put in this position, like, for where she said in the criminal episode that she felt like she was acting for her life, like trying to make it, like, not make this person angry, that she was like faking her acting, quote unquote, but like obviously still being brutally attacked. So how do you...
So wait, did that happen? Did it actually happen?
Oh yeah. So they...
Oh my God.
I don't know who. I think it was the main guy, the voice. He raped her, and they taped it and said, we have this now. And if you try to report any of these details, we have this footage, and we will say it was consensual.
Oh my God.
And so he said this was the collateral in case he messed up another, quote, mission. And they said it was collateral. He's like, don't worry. It's also collateral against me, because they can show, if I mess up a mission, they can show it to my fiance and she'll think I'm having an affair. Like, what? Fuck?
I would immediately just show everybody.
Just punch him in the nose.
I can't. Oh my God. Oh my God. I thought I was working off your energy, and everything seemed like it was playful up until now.
It was. I mean, not playful, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah. Like, less... I thought I was expecting to hear at the end of this, so like, oh, either she was in on it or the boyfriend was in on it or something.
Okay, well,
and this was all a hoax.
Well, wait, there's more.
Oh my God.
There's more. So, okay. So she goes through this horrific trauma on top of everything else. And he says, but don't worry, it's also collateral for me, because they'll show it to my fiance if I, to out me as a cheater if I mess up another mission. And he even told her, big yikes, that it was more of a punishment for him than it would be for her.
That's just like, I mean, I can't even,
forget
it. I heard it the first time and I went, fuck that guy.
Forget it. Yeah. And it went on like this. The voice clearly liked to think of himself as kind and really like a gracious host almost. He gave Denise movies to watch. He at one point even got her pizza and wine for dinner, like brought her wine. And he tried to joke around with her. He told her she was strong and admirable for the way she was handling the situation, all while like simultaneously dehumanizing her and assaulting her, etc. And it's like, that dichotomy is so disturbing for some reason, because we expect a criminal to act in a certain way, and it just doesn't line up in our minds. I guess it just makes it extra creepy. Meanwhile, Detective Matt Mustard is interrogating Aaron, and they played a clip of this. He basically tells Aaron, this is a verbatim from the transcribed interrogation recordings, quote, "Listen to me for a second. The story you're telling here, I ain't buying it at all. There ain't no frogmen came into your house. Nobody dressed in wetsuits. It didn't happen. That didn't happen." He told Aaron he knew that Aaron had killed Denise. He said, maybe it was an accident, but we know you killed her and we know you know where she is.
Oh my God.
And they're like, and Aaron goes, you have my phone. Check my phone. And they go, not one person has reached out to your phone for ransom. And he's like, well, shit, like, if they were reaching out, then maybe it would be proof that, this is real. Someone else is out there. And so they say, you know what? Since we confiscated your phone, nothing's come in. So he's just in this horrible, horrible position right now. And despite hours of interrogation with detectives insisting to him that he killed Denise, and at this point you can see once again, for the millionth time, how easy it is for someone to be coerced or manipulated in a high pressure situation like this, especially say they have like, learning disability, or they have, a certain thing riding on this, or who knows what, but like for mental illness, whatever it may be, you could see how like forcefully people get pushed into answering a certain way. And so for hours and hours, he's like denying, like, I did nothing to Denise. I did not. And so, like I said earlier, he was afraid to ask for a lawyer, because in the cop shows, it looks like, if you lawyer up right away, well, that's a red flag. You probably had something to do with it.
Yeah.
He wanted the police to just trust him, and he felt confident in his story, so he felt like he didn't need a lawyer, but they just did not believe him no matter what. So instead, they got the FBI involved in the interrogation. And unfortunately, the FBI also said, hey, we need you to just confess to what you've done because we know that you harmed Denise. And
what the hell?
They
I
said,
feel like
this story that you're telling is just way too off the wall to be real.
Okay.
And they said, we're going to call Denise's family now, and we're going to tell them we're looking for her body. And they're trying to pressure him, basically. They even told him he had failed a lie detector test without like showing the results. Like, they were really pushing this. But Denise's parents were dumbfounded. They were like, we don't think Aaron would hurt her. And I want to point out like an interesting fact here too. They've only been dating for 7 months at this point. Like, this is a very fresh relationship. So even though the family didn't know him that well, they were like, no, I don't think he would have done this. Something's not adding up. So it just gets weirder. So meanwhile, the kidnappers are watching TV and they say the news, and they see that Aaron has been arrested on suspicion of killing his wife, Denise. So they contact the kidnappers, contact the San Francisco Chronicle, and they release a statement to take credit for the abduction. They even recorded Denise's voice saying she was alive and safe and released it to the public to take credit for the kidnapping.
To brag.
Yeah, to be like, no, he didn't do it. We did it. Not even to brag necessarily, but to say like, oh no, Aaron didn't do it.
Like they didn't want him to get the credit.
Yeah. Or they didn't want him to be in trouble. They were like,
oh yeah, because they're so fucking kind.
Yeah, because they're so gracious. And so they're like, oh no, that wasn't Aaron. Don't worry. That was us. And guess what? They think Aaron is setting this all up behind the scenes and pulling the strings.
What did Aaron do for the entire police force, including his brother, to be so prepared to have to like go in on him?
Well, there's this like trope of the husband did it, and you hear such a whack out story of like, oh, this guy played a meditation into my ears. And
I mean, I feel like if someone's going to like try to trick the police, like at least pick something like believable, right?
Yeah,
like,
it seems
I feel like
outrageous.
I feel like the more unbelievable, the more I'd be like, well, that's original. Like, I would like to think you're not that stupid that you would say that to us if you want us to think that this is a real good cover up. Like,
yeah, it feels like if you were going to cover it up, you wouldn't be like, anyway, they were also in wetsuits and they played the SoundCloud mix.
Right. It's like I think you'd pick something like inconspicuous that would be hard to track or something.
But we do hear those stories where the people who did do it come up with the most fantastical
That's true.
reasons. So I'm sure they've heard it all as far as like how they got in possession of this gun or how you never know.
I still feel like the brother should have been able to hear panic in his brother's voice and taken it seriously.
No, the brother, that's the thing, fully believed him.
Oh, okay.
So the brother wasn't the one who said, he called the police because he said, we want to make sure we find Denise. He didn't call the police thinking, oh, my brother has done something horrible. Okay, so for what it's worth, and I think I mentioned this later, but they actually did try to convince his brother that he was having a schizophrenic break. And his brother sat down with him and went, no, he's not. Like, I know him and I know he's not having a schizophrenic break. So, nice try.
Boy.
So they still think at this point that he's sending himself scheduled emails and texts posing as the abductors and called the San Francisco Chronicle and made all this up. So the detectives contact Aaron's brother, Ethan, this one I was just telling you about, and they tell him, oh, it's a psychotic schizophrenic break, and he killed Denise because of this psychotic break. And so Ethan gets to Aaron and speaks to him and is like, no, it's not. I know my brother, it's not. And thank God he had the wherewithal to secure a lawyer for his brother, for Aaron. Mm-hmm. So finally, Aaron has a lawyer, gets released, and meets with police later. And this is when the police didn't even make this point, but somebody on his team noticed that his phone was on airplane mode. And they're like, well, no shit, you haven't been getting any contact from the kidnappers. The phone's on airplane mode. So they take it off airplane mode, and a flood of emails, texts, communications, voicemails from the abductors come in.
They must have been wondering on the other side, like, why isn't this fucking guy?
They were like, I mean, they left so many voicemails. He said that his voicemail inbox was like full. They just couldn't even access it anymore. And so basically, I think one of the more infuriating parts about this too is that Aaron later found out that if they had been tracking these calls, they would have been able to pinpoint where the phone was coming from.
Oh, that's just, I can't even imagine.
And instead they just turned it off essentially and just didn't. So like if they needed to find her, they could have traced the phone and, you know, probably rescued her. But anyway, so basically all these flood of texts and emails come in, and guess what the police say?
You caused this? You
must have just sent these from a different email account or phone.
So what does he need to do to like prove it to them?
Literally walk on water. I have no idea. Like, I think this is one of those where it's like they've decided something and they're just digging their heels in no matter what, you know, like la 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 plug in their ears. Because
like they must have been so busy with other cases. They were like, we just will find any excuse to not have to deal with this.
No, I think it was like they got their guy in their mind and they were like, we will nail this guy for it. You know what I mean? Like they were just so focused on putting him away for it that they just refused to accept any other. And there were reports later that they absolutely ignored evidence and just barreled through. One of the officers actually later sued the police station or the department for wrongful termination, because I guess he had been questioning what was going on, and he had been asked to delete text messages off the phone.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah. So like really, really, really bad cover-up stuff. So anyway, they turn the phone on and they're like, well, you must have just scheduled all these hundreds of voicemails and calls and texts. And meanwhile, the kidnappers with Denise are like, why the fuck won't this guy answer the phone? We told him to talk to us and to follow our instructions.
Yeah. And
so, so the next morning, March 25th, it's only been 48 hours since the abduction.
But now in theory, they're going to release her, yeah?
The voice drops Denise off in Huntington Beach at a public bathroom and leaves. Sets her free. And she gets out and she's looking around and she's like, oh, I'm in Huntington Beach. So like Southern California near Los Angeles. And she realizes, oh, this is where my parents live. So she's like, I'll go walk to my mom's house. But unfortunately, her parents were in Vallejo because their daughter's missing. And so they had flown up there. So she's walking around and she manages to find one of her neighbors and has them call for help. So around 9:30 p.m., Vallejo Police Public Information Officer Lieutenant Kenny Park, under the supervision of Chief Bidu, held a press conference. And this is where, like, I just want to scream. But he tells the media that police now believe Denise and Aaron had worked together to orchestrate the entire abduction simply for attention.
So full-blown victim blaming. Full-blown victim blaming.
Like the definition of... I'm going to read you this line from the press conference. It's infuriating. Today, there is no evidence to support the claims that this was a stranger abduction or an abduction at all. Given the facts that have been presented thus far, this event appears to be an orchestrated event and not a kidnapping. Mr. Quinn and Miss Huskins have plundered valuable resources away from our community and taken the focus away from the true victims of our community while instilling fear among our community members. So, if anything, it is Mr. Quinn and Miss Huskins that owe this community an apology. Is that not mind-blowing? It's like... When someone becomes an arsonist, if it's for a situation like, I would want to burn the whole fucking department down. I would be like, oh my God, I would go on a spree. I would not know I wouldn't even know what to do. Yeah, it's so hard to imagine. Like Aaron was describing his anger and he's like, I've never been so angry. He was just shaking, but he's like, there's nothing I could do. Like nothing. You're just cornered.
I can't imagine. And that poor fucking girl, the poor guy, Aaron, who is so desperately trying to get someone to save his girlfriend. Yeah. And can you imagine the guilt later when he finds out that she was R-worded and And on top of it, like his phone was on airplane mode, so I'm sure part of him thinks like if I answer the phone sooner or something.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they could have potentially tracked the phone before she got raped and saved her. So it's like, there's no way to know, obviously.
And then they say that they,
but
like,
because she's alive, it's sort of like, well, it all turned out fine, and it's like,
so also
no.
You owe us an apology.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so they're basically saying, well, isn't this convenient? She shows back up and having just escaped from this fucking nightmare and just hoping like, finally I'm free. And she even described it like, I wasn't sitting there, I didn't realize I would have to be sitting there going, what can I do now in my kidnapping situation to later prove that this really happened? Like, she said she went through spirals where she was like, should I have like gotten more injured? Like, would an internal injury have proven that? And then she later realized like, no, nothing she would have done would have convinced them. Like, no amount of bruising would have convinced them.
Right, because you just hit yourself. Or
yeah. They could explain it away. I mean, he's apparently calling himself over and over,
Did they ever get justice? Ever?
Yeah. Is still on this. There's more.
Okay.
But wait, there's more. So Denise was reunited with her family, only to find out not only did she have to now recover from this trauma, but she also had to get a defense lawyer to fight criminal charges because the police department is now leveling these charges against them for wasting resources. And not only that, but now her reputation is like destroyed because they've tanked because they've gone on record. The police are saying she plotted her own kidnapping. Now, this is when we get the name of this case, which is the real life Gone Girl, because they dubbed Denise, one of the reports dubbed Denise the real life Gone Girl in reference to the book and movie about the woman who fakes her own abduction. And the media went absolutely nuts. And to the point that detectives on the case started calling Denise Gone Girl instead of her actual name.
Well, also, like, how demeaning on top of everything else. We can't even say her name.
Absolutely. Like, talk about dehumanizing once again. But so I had mentioned this to Blaze, and what's terrible is when I started researching this, reading up on it, I was like, oh, right, that woman who actually faked her own abduction, because that's all I remember.
Yeah.
And Blaze, when I mentioned it too, I said, do you know about the real life Gone Girl case? And he's like, oh, that woman in California who invented her whole abduction. And I'm like, no, because that's all we all heard. Like, all we heard was, oh my God, can you believe this lady faked her own abduction? We never heard the update of, oh, hold up, she didn't fake it.
Right. Oh my God.
The story stuck. Like, for me at least, and for Blaze, we both remembered it as that, oh, that crazy lady in California.
Can you imagine? Like, it just like really makes probably her and me also feel that like, oh, so the police won. Like, they totally covered it up to a point where now like her reputation was already sullied, and they like made sure to like completely get her in a nickname and everything. We're like, no one will ever know.
Stuck as that story, and I think it just wasn't as compelling when they found out, oh no, this was real. I just think that wasn't as compelling news, and so people picked up on the first part of, oh, this woman faked her kidnapping, and then nobody really got the correction,
Oh my God.
Because, I mean, I'm embarrassed as a true crime podcaster. I'm like, I thought she invented the whole thing. Like, I didn't even realize there was this update to it where it's like, oh no, they tried to make all of us believe she invented it. It's just really sad. And so they call her Gone Girl. And she had, by the way, not even seen the movie or read the book. And she said she later did. And that's when she realized, no amount of bruising myself or hurting myself would have convinced them out of it. Because in the book, it's so wild that she's like, yeah, anything I would have done, they would have explained away. So Aaron and Denise started writing down every detail of what they had. I mean, they're being gaslit every 5 minutes. So, of course, they write down every detail of what they could remember of this nightmare while it was in their minds to use in their defense down the road. And so Denise confided in her lawyer at this point that she had been raped. And he contacted investigators for a rape kit immediately. And of course, this is not going to go smoothly either, because they tell him, oh, well, we don't have time today, so just make sure she sleeps in her clothes, aka the ones that she had been held captive in and raped in.
So incredibly triggering objects right in front of her.
Just don't change or shower and sleep in those, and we'll do the rape test in the morning. Like, how dismissive and horrid. The police, for what it's worth, deny that this happened, but Denise and her lawyer insist that it did. And I think if anyone's been proven to be more trustworthy, it's her.
Yep.
And so it's just a mess. And she had told the police at first, no, I haven't been raped. They asked, were you raped? And she says no. And later she confides in her lawyer that she had been. And so, of course, they use that against her and say, well, you said you weren't. And she's like, yeah, but I was also threatened with like this tape that they were going to release. You already didn't believe me. Like, I wasn't going to confide that in you.
Explain to me why I should at this point trust you at all.
Trust you with my trauma. Yeah. So exactly. So the
were
lawyer...
this is so stupid I don't know. Were there women working on this force?
I don't know.
I just don't know if they were like part of the problem. I don't know. I'm just wondering.
I don't know either. I mean, I'll keep my mouth shut about part. Yeah, never mind.
We all know how we feel.
We'll go there in an after chat, maybe.
Okay.
So they say they're going to do a rape test in the morning, and they're like, just have her sleep in her clothes that she's been in for 72 hours or whatever. So now Denise, on top of everything, is being publicly persecuted by the media. They're calling her like this horrible, horrible person who's, just clearly unhinged and like all this horrible shit. And she later said, quote, you go through something like that and every moment, every ounce of energy is about how do I live to see another second? That is all you can think about. The last thing that you're thinking about is if I do survive, I need to make sure that I'm believable. Like,
oh my God,
you shouldn't have to think that way. So on March 26th, the kidnappers, they decide they are just so sympathetic to Denise's plight.
Okay.
And they decide they're going to contact the media again and clear things up and say, no. It was us. We did it. It wasn't Denise. They even provided photographic evidence of the room where they held Denise and said, look, here's a photo of where we held her.
Okay.
And the police still insisted that Aaron and Denise were the ones sending these photos and that they were just digging the hole deeper and adding more layers to this. When in reality, the kidnappers are like, yoo-hoo, I'm right here. Here's a photo. And
sick.
Just nothing they could do was going to convince them.
Sick.
Few days later, on March 28th, the abductors again contacted the newspaper with more details, attempting to clear Denise's and Aaron's names. So they're like, it's not even necessarily about the credit. It's more like, no, they didn't do it. Like,
I wonder what the criminals were actually thinking this whole time of like, wow, should all four of us just team up together against the police because like we really want this credit?
Weird.
Oy.
It's so weird. It's like you got away with it,
Yeah,
like you'd think you got away with it. Go, leave.
You'd think you would never hear from them again.
Exactly. And it's almost lucky they did because it's like, well, at least someone was on their side and it was the kidnapper. Like, you don't expect that to be the person who's rooting for you.
Right. Certainly not.
So even stranger, on March 30th and March 31st, the abductors emailed the police department directly demanding that the police publicly apologized to Denise and Aaron.
What is going on here?
I don't know. It feels like a bad circus performance.
Which I am very aware of like the fact that they like tortured these people.
Yeah,
There's
they like
trauma
caused
here.
The whole thing.
But at the same time, it's like now you're like opting out of like not being the villain in some way, where you're just like, I mean, I know it's for their own gain of like, oh, they want the credit, but it's like, how are you being more helpful than the police?
It's just the strangest turn of events.
That police department should be so fucking embarrassed.
Honestly, that might be part of why they were like, what fucking criminal would do this? Obviously, there's some, you know what I mean? Like, that's almost where I can see, like,
yeah, it's almost like they're trying to be so hopeful that they're hurting.
It's almost too ridiculous. It's like, in what planet have you ever heard of the criminals calling multiple times to force the police to apologize to their victims? Like, it's just such a bizarro thing that I can see a little bit why people would get like, I'm not saying the police had any excuse for the way that they handle this at all, but I can see why people who read just the cold facts would be like, eyebrow raise about like, okay, your kidnappers are calling the police and demanding an apology on your behalf. Yeah, right. That doesn't seem feasible, which it doesn't, but apparently it is.
Amazing.
It's really wild. It's really wild. So they're like, you need to apologize to them. And the police are like, no, we still think it's them. So through the next couple months, April and May, Denise and Aaron are just trying to hold on to their sanity, hold on to their lives. They were hated internationally. And I remember when this went viral and I was like, what a sicko. Who does this? Like, I really believed the headlines. And I remember thinking, like, what kind of sicko fakes their own kidnapping, you know? And like, think about all the real victims. And I guess I was part of the problem.
I guess. I mean, I feel like they did a really good job of taking the narrative away.
Yeah,
like taking the power away.
Yeah, they didn't really have much say. So internationally, they were hated. There was this merciless public who thought they were like sick in the head, thought they were liars. And now they are preparing to be prosecuted for a crime they didn't commit. And the only thing on their side were their families. And I guess I would argue also the kidnappers seem to be on their side.
It's a weird thing to argue, but like at least 1% is
doesn't make sense. But here
even
we
if
are.
Even if it's for personal gain, they're at least being somehow more helpful, or at least they're actively trying. I don't understand
trying
it.
Something. We don't really know what's going on.
Wow.
So they have their families, and Denise and Aaron both said that family support is what kept them going, as well as their love for one another. And I guess it's good they were still in that honeymoon phase 7 months in, because they had their love for each other and they held on to that.
Also, talk about trauma bonding. Like if they were
for sure,
if they weren't close before, they are now.
Exactly. So when all hope seemed lost, there was a breakthrough that changed everything on June 5th. Around 3:30 a.m., The Voice attempted to attack another couple.
Are you fucking kidding me?
In Dublin, California, which is about 30 minutes away from Vallejo.
Do you think it was on purpose to be like, well, if we couldn't get credit for that, we better get credit for this?
That's a great question. I wouldn't put it past them at this point. Right?
Be like, well, clearly we have to do it again.
It's me. Call the police. Stop. You know, I don't know. So they tried to break in, but this time it seemed like The Voice was alone. The husband fought back, and The Voice had to flee, but dropped his phone on the way out of the house.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Which again makes me think either he's a worse burglar or he's just trying to get them to notice him, you know, and like get the credit. So he drops his phone, and so police were able to track its owner, a guy named Matthew Muller. And at first they get a hold of his mother, who confirms like, yes, that's my son's phone. And this guy, Matthew Muller, he is a former U.S. Marine. He's a summa cum laude graduate and a Harvard Law School alumni.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Or alumnus. But first of all, he doesn't seem to be a medical professional. So I don't know what that's about. He must have lied about that.
If he's just dropping his phone everywhere, I feel like he might be dropping his murder weapons everywhere. I feel like if he's a doctor, he's dropping a scalpel everywhere.
Yeah, he's apparently a lawyer, but not a medical professional. So I don't know. But a new detective, Misty Karasu, went along on Matthew's arrest at his family's Lake Tahoe cabin. And there she found squirt guns with laser pointers taped to them to look like the rifle, you know, laser.
Interesting.
And so then she's starting to put things together. She sees swim goggles covered in duct tape with blonde hair stuck to the tape. And she knew no one in the recent abduction, in the Dublin, California abduction, had blonde hair. And she's like, okay, well, he must have, and she hasn't put this together yet, but she's like, he must have done this before. So she tracks down Matthew's car, which was stolen, to an owner who lived near him, like a neighbor. And she began putting pieces together and remember seeing this Gone Girl kidnapping on the news. So she Googles Gone Girl kidnapping and finds out about Denise and Aaron. And she reaches out to the Vallejo police and the FBI, who quickly respond. And they find in Matthew's cabin one of Aaron's stolen tapes where he'd held Denise hostage. So they find the address where he released Denise, programmed into the car's GPS, and they're like, okay, I think finally we have enough proof that this is the guy who did it.
Oh my gosh.
They basically have that Huntington Beach address in his GPS. So they're like,
okay.
So they're like, well, clearly this is our guy. So, surprise, surprise, Denise and Aaron were telling the truth all along. And, you know, even in the beginning when we were hearing the story, it really does seem like, I don't know, this person clearly like cares for Denise or has some sort of ulterior motive or knows them.
Now it makes me wonder that like maybe they just really need the money, but they felt so bad about it. Like maybe the guilt was really seeping in, but like was the guilt really seeping in when all of a sudden they were R-wording her?
And exactly, and they're doing it again now at a different place.
Or to have the nerve to be like, oh, you can shower by yourself, or you can go to the bathroom by yourself. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but also let's assault you sexually. Exactly. Like, are you kidding me?
Yes. Anyway, and it's like, was the group real? Was it just him?
Yeah. I don't know. But so we find out who.
Oh, yeah. So sorry. So this guy, he's law school, blah, blah, blah. And so now this Misty detective, she's putting this together. And finally, the police have to face this fact that, hey, they were telling the truth all along. They have to go back on their theory. So Matthew was charged with kidnapping in federal court, and in state court, he was charged with 2 counts of forcible rape, robbery, and burglary. He was convicted and sentenced to 40 years in federal court and 37 in state court. He will serve the sentences concurrently and will be released in 40 years. So despite Aaron and Denise insisting that there were other people involved in the attack, police didn't press to investigate these claims any further, and Matthew said he acted alone. So either he's lying and
or he's covering for someone.
He's covering for someone, or he was alone and he just fooled them into thinking there was more than one person, because apparently they also found like blow up dolls at his house, and they were like,
what?
Maybe when she saw legs, like maybe he was trying to fake that there were other people in the room. I have no idea. It's just so weird that I can't really wrap my mind around it. But then who are these other people? Why on earth are they involved?
And did he have like, I mean, did he give a reason?
No. It's so strange.
I really thought by the end of this I was going to have a reason.
It's just
like what?
It's okay, like so we have an answer, question mark, but it doesn't make sense.
Feels like he's definitely covering for somebody. Like I
guess, but then the second attack he was by himself, so it's like.
But I don't know. Maybe he got help the first time around, and then the second time, maybe he was the only one so desperate for the credit that he was like, I'll go again.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But like, was that whole group thing real of like, we're a black market group who is ex-military and we help people in debt? You know, that's what he claimed. So I'm like, is that real, or is he just making all that up? It seems pretty wild, but like, then again, all of this seems pretty wild. So
yeah.
It's hard to tell what's real and what's not. But so, yeah, Matthew claims he did it alone, even though Denise and Aaron were like, I promise you there were other people in the room. So, like, who am I to say they're wrong, you know? I mean, if they saw or heard other people.
If no one else is believing them, we believe you.
We might as well believe what they're saying. They were right about everything else.
Yeah.
So basically at this point, Denise and Aaron have realized they'll need to somehow make peace knowing their other abductors are still at large and will likely continue to hurt people. If it's true that there were other people in the room, then they have not been caught and could still be doing this. So when asked in an interview how they feel about Matthew and his sentencing, Aaron said he never wanted any gratuitous punishment for Matthew that bordered on hatred. He said it was enough that Matthew was removed from the public so he can't hurt anyone else. So it's almost like they don't even hold this like, you know, vengeful feeling toward him. They're sort of like, just get him out of the streets.
What a nice way to go about that, because I would never recover.
No,
I mean,
me neither.
I'm sure part of them never recovered, but like, what an honorable way to handle this.
Yeah, what a very mature way to look at it, because they said, you know, the sentencing isn't about hurting Matthew, but about protecting other people, which is very like high road path,
very high road. Very,
and I wouldn't blame them
mindful.
either way, you know.
No.
And so Denise said she felt empowered at the sentencing when she gave her witness impact statement, and she was able to like look at Matthew, because this whole time she had these goggles. She didn't know what he looked like. So she finally got to like look at his face and tell him how much he hurt her and share her story. And she believes she made him really see her. And it was just a very empowering moment for her. The Vallejo Police Department sent Denise and Aaron a private apology and promised to release a public apology once Matthew was charged. Well, surprise, surprise, that didn't happen. And so several of the FBI and police detectives, instead of apologizing, have been promoted in recent years. Matt Mustard himself was named Officer of the Year in 2015. And I did a little quick Googs and found out he's been in trouble for some racist jokes. So
What?
I say jokes with a heavy quotations. And so, clearly there's some trouble happening all around in this department. If I seem over them, well, I think we all know why now. If I've seemed anti-Vallejo City Police this entire episode, now you know why.
I think we all are. Or at least...
I hope we all are, okay? And so Denise and Aaron sued the Vallejo City Police and settled out of court for $2.5 million. And you know what? Something that I thought was really interesting is Aaron mentioned in the interview as well that he just feels so fortunate that they had the resources they did because they had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for their defense lawyers. And he was saying, like, I was able to sell my house and we were able to take out of our parents' retirement funds. And at this point, he was only 30, so they were very young. And he said, we had these resources and we were able to defend ourselves. But like he just said, he's now developed this newfound, like, just respect, or not respect, that's not the right word, like this newfound desire to help people who've been, imprisoned unjustly because maybe they weren't believed by police or they didn't have the resources to hire a good attorney. And so he said that really just, changed his perspective. But yeah, so I mean, fortunately, they were able to make their way out of this. But in December of 2020, former Vallejo Police Captain John Whitney filed a lawsuit against the Vallejo Police Department over wrongful termination. This is the guy that I mentioned earlier. I forgot that I had this bullet in here, so here's some more information on that. He said that during the investigation, he filed multiple complaints against officers for the way they handled the Denise and Aaron case. He said all of his complaints were ignored, and he claimed he was also instructed, as I said, to delete text messages relevant to the case to destroy evidence against the department, which is just so blatantly wrong. Like at that point, you can't say, oh, we just misunderstood. It's like, no, you were intentionally fucking with the case.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
And still no apology. Interesting.
No, certainly not. They did end up giving a half-assed one, but...
What, they probably went, sorry that you're mad at us?
Yeah, sorry you feel that way. That's like my mom's biggest pet peeve when people say that. In 2021, Denise and Aaron actually wrote a book. They published a book on their experience. It's called Victim F, From Crime Victims to Suspects to Survivors. And the book tells their story in excruciating detail. And they found this experience of writing a book empowering. They could finally tell the narrative that like they knew to be true, that they had taken away from them, like you said earlier. And it wasn't until media outlets started to reach out to the Vallejo Police Department on the eve of the book's release that the department finally issued their short, half-assed apology of, sorry you feel that way.
Sorry you read the book and have a different opinion.
Yeah, exactly. You're seeing it differently. So for what it's worth, I guess they sort of said sorry. Aaron said in a recent podcast interview that the apology didn't really mean much to them. Obviously, understandable. He and Denise believe actions matter, not words. They said they don't want an apology. They want the Vallejo Police Department to make real, actionable changes to make sure no one is ever victimized or abused by police the way they were.
Yep.
And Aaron says, looking back on the way he was interrogated, he now believes there must be thousands of innocent people in prison. Well, yeah, could have told you that. But yes, probably more innocent people in prison in the United States who either confessed falsely or are there because of a hunch that couldn't be, police couldn't be dissuaded about. And he said the only reason he didn't give in to the kind of psychological mind games they were playing on him was because he knew if he just gave up and said, yeah, you're right, you got me, I hurt Denise, then nobody would look for her. And so he said the reason he never just gave in and admitted is not because he just was strong enough. It was just that he had this reason. He said, I wanted to make sure we found Denise. That was the only reason I didn't give in. And I imagine if she had been found dead, maybe he would have said, whatever, I did it just to get out of this like mind game, And so he said just the fact that she was still missing and in peril, he said, I wasn't necessarily stronger than anyone else in this position. I just had this motivator, this like outside motivator to keep saying, no, someone has her. You have to find her.
Wow.
So,
I'm glad at least one person was looking out for Denise, and I feel bad that no one was looking out for Aaron.
That's a great point. It's like you're blaming the one person who's like pushing to find her. It's so twisted.
Blame the advocate.
Yeah,
Sure.
so disturbing. Well, he hopes that speaking out on his experience will bring comfort and motivation to others who have been wrongly accused and imprisoned in the U.S. By corrupt investigations. And Denise hopes that she will empower other rape victims by unflinchingly telling her story. And you know what? There's a happy ending to this in that the couple are now happily married. They both still work their dream jobs as physical therapists, and they are raising a daughter together, and they're very happy together. And, you know, they said that this experience was awful, obviously, but also made them stronger. And they held onto each other through it and are still together. So.
Wow. And it could have been so easy for them to pull away.
Yeah, I imagine that she even said, like, you know, people always say, wow, that would have torn a lot of couples apart. But somehow they made it through. So, yeah.
Wow.
That's the real life Gone Girl case.
The accurate telling of it.
Yeah. Not the media one.
Well, wow. Oh, my God. That's so sad.
It is sad. And
it's just so
scary.
stupid. It's just so stupid. Like, the fact that, like, this guy could have been caught. I mean, we've been talking about it for the last literal hour, but like the fact that he gave so many clues and he like,
was waving like it's me,
was straight up with a bullhorn saying I'm guilty, and then the police are like, well,
looks like Aaron to me. It's like,
right.
What the fuck?
Oh my God. Well, I hope wherever that couple is, I hope that they're okay.
I do too.
They deserve a hug.
They deserve all the happiness. And this is why I did these notes and then prepared with an after chat session. So I'm very excited to do that with you.
Thank you. Well, I'm very excited about that. But also, I for a second thought you were going to say, and that's why I drank. And I don't know why we've never just ended episodes like that. Like,
isn't that how we end episodes?
No, but like just like
to just say wait, I like that.
Just to sum up a story, just to be like, and that's why we drink. Like,
why have we? That's so clever.
300 episodes in.
Fuck. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
We really should have had like one meeting before we started a podcast.
You think? No. That seems like a lot of work.
Well, anyway, from now on, if you don't know how to end something, just go, and that's why we drink. You know?
Yeah, honestly.
How did we literally never do that?
Well, and that's why I drink.
Okay, great. That's why.
Did I do it?
I kind of. Yeah, you said kind of the title of our show.
Okay, I'll say it again. Wait, say something that makes me drink. That we haven't come.
I don't know.
This is why we don't pre-plan anything. Okay, I'll say. Man, it took us almost 300 episodes to find a way to end these. Ugh. And that's why we drink. This is really bad.
We've had a long time to practice and have just done none of it.
Maybe I'll say it and then you say it, and that's why we drink. Okay.
Okay. Catch us on Patreon after this if you'd like to watch our after chats.
If you'd like to watch more of this bullshit. Okay.
God,
it took us 300 episodes, Emma, and we took us 300 episodes to finally find a way to end these episodes. That's the worst way of saying that.
Okay. And that's why no, I can't do it.
And that's why we drink.